I mean,
It's like an extra jockey.
it's exactly right. It's like a spoiler, only it's just, it's like the reverse thrusts.
Yes.
It's those flaps that come up.
That's exactly right. Extra wind resistance.
Dumb.
Stupid.
Is what it is, just like this conversation. But Adam Teicher, that is not a dumb conversation, we hope. He will join us at 11 o'clock. And then Todd Lebo, a little Fact or Fiction today with Todd, the man about town, the rock on tour, the world traveler, Todd Lebo, who is just checking off bucket list items for him. So we'll hang out with Todd Lebo, a little Fact or Fiction with him. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, 913-912-4810. Text line to join us today and be part of the conversation. Let's start with some Royals baseball, because why not? Because you know what? We've started with Royals baseball so many times when it's been a negative, when it's been something that has been more of an annoyance. We're just complaining, venting frustration. And you know what? Last couple of days, the wins, but while wins haven't come at an extreme clip in the month of May in the 7 games they have played, they are 3-4 in this month. And in their last 9 games, they are 4-5, which is a 72-win pace. So that is clearly an improvement from where they were when we were talking about this team pacing to lose roughly 130 games.
More or less, yeah.
Give or take 5 to 10 was kind of it. But now the way that they have played in these last 9 games, and only 4 of those 9 have been against the A's and White Sox. So you're playing the Twins and the Orioles for 5 of those 9 games. A's and White Sox, you've gone 2-2 against those teams. Not great that you lost the series to the A's, but if we're talking about what do they do against these teams that are either their peers or lesser than, well, they're 500 so far in that conversation. They are 2-2. And if you want to throw in the San Francisco Giants, the other team they have played this year that is not at 500 or better, they are then 4-3 in those 7 games they've played against teams that are below 500. That's much better than the overall record of 10-26. So 4-3 against those teams that are sub 500, 6-23 against teams that are at or above 500. There's a clear difference. Now, today, tomorrow, on into Thursday, we may be talking about losing both series to the A's and the White Sox and what happened in those final 3 games against the White Sox. It got a chance over the next 3 games to even split.
I feel like a split feels pretty good.
A split with the White Sox when, they're right there with you. It's like, okay, you're kind of on the same level with them. Only difference is the White Sox have a payroll of almost $200 million, and they are going for it. They're trying to win the division this year, trying to win a World Series, and it is not going well. Not going well, to say the least, for the White Sox. It's been bad. We didn't even play the White Sox fans' rant last week, which was one of the most beautiful, well-constructed, put-together phone calls of a sports radio show for a White Sox fan that just went point by point by point by point. He was James Carville in Old School in the debate, or at least Will Ferrell against James Carville in the debate when Will Ferrell just blacked out and started breaking down all of the things that the political impacts of the GDP for the Middle East and something, or whatever it was that he was talking about. And he went, what happened? Well, that was actually perfect. That's what this particular White Sox fan sounded like. We didn't even play that last week. Like, it is bad stuff going on in the South Side.
I just don't think they've recovered since the death of Eloy Jimenez. And I don't mean from the appendectomy. That was all fine. I just mean that I've never recovered from what they did in the dugout when they lost him for not even the season. It was like 2 months, wasn't it? They hung. I might just tweet this out without context.
Yeah.
I don't want to freak people out now that he has actually like a real medical thing going on.
That's true. Yeah.
But the signed jersey hanging in the dugout after I can't remember what the injury even was at the time. It just was one of the most jarring displays of backing up your guy in sports history, despite the fact that it wasn't quite that serious.
Tex says, wow, you have eloquently pointed out how bad the Royals are. As long as we play losing teams, we have a shot.
Finding the bright spots, baby.
But isn't that kind of the point, though? Did you think they were going to what were your expectations before the season? I was obviously a little too positive. Shocker, let's run this on repeat next year, the year after that, the year after that, the year after that. We can go ahead and play the 2022 ZOUs for the Royals in 21 and 20. We can play all of those. We can just throw them on repeat. As to shocker, I was a little more positive than I should have been in spring training, hope springs eternal, all of that stuff. But J.J. Picollo and John Sherman, at least J.J. Picollo, told you what this season was going to be, whether you like it or not. Like, whether you are a fan of, yeah, we're not really spending money because we're trying to figure out what we have. When we figure those things out and we know where we have to build and piece together, then yeah, we will spend money in the offseason. When J.J. Picollo said that last year, it was a stark change from Dayton Moore's always, no, we're trying to win games. 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 The difference between this year and those years is we're trying to win games, we're trying to win games, and they were still losing at a terrible clip. This year, it's a, look, man, it is a see what you have season. It's an evaluation season. We're not spending money in the offseason because we're trying to figure out what we even have. If we spend money on something and all of a sudden some crazy prospect comes up and is awesome, and it's like, well, we just spent money on that. We didn't even know we had this thing over there, and now we have it. Well, now we're kind of redundant in these spots. And, boy, the Royals are redundant in a number of spots. So the last thing they want to be is even more. And so, given the fact that this is a, quote, evaluation season, I think there's context to the teams that they have played. They are not in competition to win a division. They're not ready to do that. They don't have near the players and the talent and the pitching and the staff and the top to bottom depth to be able to do that over 162. So when you're playing against good teams that have good pitching, that have the pitching depth, that have the bullpen, that has the offense, and you have guys that are up and down and figuring it out and learning at the big league level, you're going to lose a lot of games to some good teams. And when you play against teams that are at your level, peers, you should at least be 500. Or, as they are, better than 500.
You don't want to be worse than the bad teams. That's exactly a reasonable line to draw.
What are you doing against your peers? Yeah. The Twins' peers are the other division-leading teams. The peers in the American League East are all 5 of them, just pointing at each other. We're all peers. We're all trying to. So that level of like, well, yeah, they're playing bad teams, they're playing better. Right. But then we can't just simply dismiss that, well, they're playing bad teams, that's why they're winning, and not acknowledge they were playing good teams while they were losing. Like, you can't have one without the other. You can't have this team sucks, this team sucks. Well, they're playing lesser teams, that's why they're winning, they still suck. Yes, we know they suck.
Right.
We're aware of the suckage. They were one of the suckiest sucks that ever sucked. They've been sucking. Okay, they are the Hoover, not Herbert, but vacuums of sucking. They and the A's have really sucked a lot. So that isn't a surprise. It's a where are they at 1 month into the season? How can we really evaluate what they have? And are they just one of the worst put together ball clubs? Or do they have talent and they're going up against teams that are constructed and built and ready to compete right now?
In the process, I mean, I think in at least 2 ways, the way that the games actually end and the process of them really does matter. Not in terms of playoff spots. And again, maybe if you're listening right now going, oh, great, congratulations, guys. You're giving the Royals flowers for beating another bad team. And yeah, because they're still making an effort to win baseball games and more importantly, to have the long-term trajectory clear up a little bit just to see where they're headed. And it's why, not to keep harping on the one dude who's going to end up being the butt of all of the jokes this season or whatever, but this lineup changes fundamentally from a vibes perspective when Maikel Garcia plays third base instead of Hunter Dozier.
Yeah.
It fundamentally uproots everything you think when you look at that lineup, and it expands even more when we've got kind of, again, this back half lineup. We talked with Craig Brown a little bit about it yesterday as well. This idea that, hey, you know, there have been a few guys at the top of the lineup for the last few years. You go, hey, you know, I could see it coming together, and then 5 through 9, 4 through 9 in some cases comes around and you go, oh, that's a minor league baseball team. Like, that's really disappointing. Right now, with the exception of Jackie Bradley Jr., who is playing for a good reason, he is the center fielder on this roster. 1 through 8, you're excited to see what those guys do because they have a stake in the present and a stake in the future. Seeing growth from those young guys, and specifically the young bats, because the pitching is a different story. But
Yeah.
but seeing the young bats take positive steps gives you some hope for, especially where we think about where we started the season when it was all about the pitching and we couldn't even watch the Royals hit. There's growth there. That matters. But also, it just feels better as a product to watch and to talk about and to just have in the city, which I know is huge, super big picture. But it's way more enjoyable to know that these guys are a part of the future and that they can string together a few good at-bats that make you feel a little bit better. But it's okay to smile at that. You don't have to be a grouch for 162 games.
Because there's plenty of that.
There will be plenty of excuses to be mad at the Royals.
Yes,
Plenty. Maybe 100.
Well, as they're pacing, yes, there would be 100.
As they're pacing, certainly 100.
But I think as we continue to assess what this team is, 1 month in when the calendar turned to May, and okay, so what did they do in April? Not great, Bob. But I wanted to point out, if this is an evaluation season and we're wondering what's going on with these players, there was clear concern, at least from my part, with Bobby Witt. Still, okay, what's going on with Bobby Witt Jr.? We looked at some of the players that were his age that had played that many games, got that many at-bats, so they were top level or close to top level recruits because they're playing as 20, 21-year-old, 22-year-olds, and they're playing full seasons. You don't typically do that unless you're pretty darn good or you play on a crappy team. Bobby Witt's both. He was, a top prospect, number 2 pick in the draft, and he also plays on a crappy team. But even good teams would be like, all right, Bobby Witt's ready. He may have his ups and downs, but you can clearly see the talent. The on-base percentage was concerning because it was just a deep contrast between the best players in baseball that played at that age and then the players that are sort of like, yeah, they had nice careers because clearly they're talented. They just never put it together. And he was on that side of that. And so that was a little concerning. But in the month of May, Holtze had the stat that the Royals lead Major League Baseball in home runs in May. And lead Major League Baseball, I guess, with an average depth of home runs, or how many average depth of feet for those home runs. So the distance that was because if you're going to be playing at Kauffman Stadium, you better be hitting some mammoth shots oftentimes. And when you've got MJ that hits 1/440 and Salvi that hits 1/462 in his career long, they maybe average distance. Also the most home runs. But in the month of May, if I'm looking at it and evaluating and saying, what do they have? Well, since Michael Garcia has come up, and it is coinciding with MJ Melendez being told, you're not a catcher. You are now a right fielder. So if we just look at it just like one by one or even as the group, MJ Melendez specifically, since he was told you are no longer a catcher. Small sample size, Josh.
Oh, I'll have a sip.
Yeah, go ahead. You looked parched there.
A little caffeine.
Wet the whistle a little bit. MJ Melendez in the 7 games since he was told, you are not the catcher by Maury Povich. Opened up the thing, you are not the catcher. Freddie Fermin was like, damn it! Freddie Fermin's like, I've been, you know what? I'm glad I'm the father. I have been raising this child.
Yeah, maybe he was happy.
It's great.
Maybe Fermin was excited.
7 games, MJ Melendez slash line is 321, 345, 607. He's OPSing at 952.
That will play, as the kids say.
Is MJ Melendez. He's got a couple home runs. He's got 6 RBIs. He's got a couple of doubles. So maybe just you're a right fielder. That's all you're working on. You're a right fielder. Now go play baseball. Be a right fielder and go ahead. And he's been playing a pretty darn good right field. I mean, the catch he made last night was pretty phenomenal. I mean, they're playing better defense outside of Olivares in left field and the slide catch kick in the air thingy that happened, but sort of to be expected with Olivares in the outfield. But I went and looked at the 7 players that we talked about last week. So Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, MJ Melendez, Michael Massey, Nick Prado now, Michael Garcia, and Salvi. I threw Salvi in there as well. So young guys, and then your mainstay that's under contract that you're hoping in a couple of years he's still playing at a pretty good level. And catching or splitting catching duties with whoever. So those 7 players, I'm just going to go through these 7 players in that order that I gave you. The 7 players in their OPS. 954, 1.015, 952, 932, 1.073, 693, 1.315. So only one of those 7 players is OPSing at a pretty low clip.
Yeah.
And that's Garcia, who's been a nice addition over Dozier.
Yep.
His addition is Dozier out of the lineup. That 700 OPS is 200 better than what you were getting from Dozier, and you're getting a better third base. So your club has improved. It is no longer just a total 100% zero, if that makes sense. A total zero almost in the lineup with Dozier and a struggle at third base. Garcia's been better. Does he ultimately end up as a utility infielder? He could. He could ultimately be a utility infielder. He started off hot. I mean, he's still batting 300. He's just, on base 323, slugging 370. He's got a couple of doubles in there. But, 693 OPS for Michael Garcia. But the other guys in there, the Royals are scoring runs. It's unfortunate the pitching has not followed. The pitching was there earlier, and now the offense is there, and the pitching is not there. Hopefully Daniel Lynch can make a difference when he ultimately comes back up with the Royals.
We can talk about the pitching whenever we're not having a good vibes day.
I know. But in the month of May only, in the month of May, those 7 players, so not a surprise that they're scoring runs the way that they are. Those 7 players, here's the slash line combined, including Garcia's, 693. They are slashing 335, 433, 564. The OPS is 997 for 7 players out of the 9 in their lineup. And the other 2 are Jackie Bradley Jr. and then whoever else. Olivares is in there as well a lot. And I'm not including, I probably should include
He
Olivares.
would probably help
but
the average, right?
As much as I feel like I was leading the parade and the Olivares fan club.
Yeah.
And now I'm just sort of like, well, he's there.
Leaving him out.
He's there. I'm leaving him out. I probably should include him because he's been pretty darn good over that time frame.
Just turned 27.
Yeah. I mean,
not an old man either.
Honestly, I probably should include him because maybe it's because he's been good all year, but I included Vinny Pasquantino as well. But I'll recalibrate. I can go back and do some calculations in the break. And
if he's a part of the puzzle and not the crux of it, that's an okay thing too.
Yeah.
But that group of 7's pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as we evaluate, maybe this is grab your drink, Josh.
Oh yeah, sure. Could this be what's the sample size, would you say?
It's probably smaller than what you would expect. Maybe this is a small sample size, but it's also a group of players that you feel like there's talent there. Is Michael Massey a souped up version of Nicky Lopez? Maybe. Is Nick Pratto a guy who's got a hot bat right now, but he's eventually going to come back to the pack of being somebody that bats 220, gets on base at 300 and plays just an amazing first base. And it's like, well, you know what? His first base defense makes up for his offense that's lacking. But right now he's OPSing over 1,000 in the 6 games in May with a home run, 3 doubles, 7 RBIs. He's got 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. So these 7 players that are going to be or viewed as a big part of what this season can be, right now it's a little more enjoyable to watch the Royals because we're seeing these guys come through more often than not. It didn't happen on Saturday when they had, bases loaded and then 2 guys on with nobody out, and they had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. They couldn't get it done. They lose the game, and it's unfortunate because they had chances. They've taken advantage of those chances in other games, and then yesterday they have an 8-run inning, which was pretty awesome, and the most runs they've scored in an inning this year. Those 7 guys are something to build on, and we'll see if it all comes crashing down.
That's the way to look at it, right?
But they'd better continue hitting like that because 3 out of 5 guys in the rotation, Lyles, Keller, and Singer, are not giving you quality starts where you feel like you can go out there and score a couple 3 runs and win. You better be scoring 6 and 7. This might be a little bit of a version of the early 2000 Royals.
Also,
9-7.
Not to get, the news yesterday was good. Ryan Yarbrough was in the middle of the Royals' best outing in a while, and now he will be out for a while. 15-day IL yesterday. No idea if that's going to be the end of that stint. Seems unlikely.
Bubic was pitching well, done. Yarbrough was pitching well. We'll see how long. Greinke's been good, and we'll see who else can come up because Lyles, Keller, and Singer have not been that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You know, anytime you want to get out there and see maybe one of the bright spots, the great month of May for the Royals, if only you had a good way to get out there. Hey, just kidding. Good news. Because I can tell you about my friends at ticketsforless.com. The Royals are aiming to finish their homestand strong against the White Sox this week. You can lock in your seats to be at Decay and save with Tickets for Less. Head over to ticketsforless.com today to secure your seats and be sure to use code 810 at checkout to get a discount. That's right. Simply use promo code 810. That's 810 at ticketsforless.com and save on your next ticket order. Shop tickets with no fees and save at ticketsforless.com.
Celebrate Mother's Day with brunch or dinner at Rye. We will offer our full brunch and dinner menus all day. Take it easy on yourself and let us cook for you. Reservations are highly recommended.
Tex says if Hunter Dozier's on any other team, that organization eats the money, gets rid of him, correct? I feel like JJ is dating all over again with non-moves like that. I think they will eventually eat the money. I think they'll get there. What has Dozier done since Michael Garcia came up. So let me look at the date that Garcia was brought up.
And they didn't stick around the Franmil Reyes experience for too long either, to be fair.
That is true.
I mean,
but they don't have, $12 more million.
It's not all the money and not all the years and all of that built up.
I don't even know how much more they owe Hunter Dozier, but, I've kept track of it at one point, and then it's like, well.
Here's a legit
whatever.
question for you on behalf of the texter, I guess. We have the numbers.
One quick point. So they owe him the rest of this year, roughly, $7.5 million is what's his salary this year.
Cool.
So they owe him whatever the prorated version of that.
Yeah.
So let's say $5 million.
Yeah.
And then they owe him $9.25 next year. So that's 14. And then there's $1 million buyout. So it's about $15 million they owe him the rest of the way.
You don't think they're going to pick up the club option in 2025?
No, I think they're going to decline that and pay him $1 million.
You're probably right.
So that's a $1 million of a, appreciate it, guy. Let's see, Hunter Dozier, since Michael Garcia has been called up. Michael Garcia came up on May 2nd, so he has played in 7 games. Hunter Dozier has played in 3 of those, one as a defensive substitute that ended up coming up in the bottom of the 9th inning and striking out. Garcia has 27 at-bats, 31 plate appearances in that time. Dozier has 6 at-bats, 9 plate appearances in that time.
I'm a dangerous fella. I like to ask dangerous questions. Here's my dangerous question for you.
And 2 starts, by the way, over those 7 games. He's only started 2 games.
Is that so bad? That's my question. At this point, Garcia's on the roster. Hunter Dozier is a, at least in words, defensively versatile player who you can put at a number of different positions on the field.
Jack of all, average none.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a master of none. Jack of all trades, average of 0.
Yeah. I mean, so in no way am I asking, don't you think it's kind of cool that they're paying him $15 million from here on out the next 2 years? That's not what I'm saying. But if he is not roadblocking a younger, more productive player, doesn't matter if he's on the Royals roster or if the Orioles pick him up after he gets DFA'd. Does that really matter? Or is that just people with the baggage and frustration of this guy's way overpaid for the production he's given, which is fair. I just don't know that it's the worst thing in the world that he's your guy you can throw in a pinch.
Yeah, I think the way that it is happening now since Garcia came up, I'm way more okay with, because there is still the PTSD of O'Hearn last year.
Yep,
that for
sure.
whatever reason, no matter what, O'Hearn found his way into the lineup that Matheny just could not let it go.
Yep.
Just cut the umbilical cord, man. I mean, just you're the helicopter parent for Ryan O'Hearn's career.
Yep.
Okay, let it go, dude. And he just could not do that. And so each and every night, it's like, O'Hearn's in the lineup, O'Hearn's in the lineup, O'Hearn's in the lineup. Here's O'Hearn. He's batting 4th now. O'Hearn's in the lineup. Why is he batting 3rd? Hey, O'Hearn's in the lineup. He's batting 9th tonight. O'Hearn's in the lineup. He's batting 3rd. Why? How do you bat 9th and 3rd? There's no way somebody should be able to do that back-to-back nights. I don't understand it. O'Hearn came in and pinch hit for this guy in the 8th inning. Then that guy's batting 4th the next day. How could you possibly have O'Hearn come in and pinch hit for somebody who's going to be your cleanup hitter the next day? Like, Matheny doing those things was incredibly frustrating, and we were all pulling our hair out while we were, talking about those things. That hasn't been Quatrero.
Right. If you've got we're afraid JJ's just dating in a new suit or whatever, this could be an opportunity for them to prove, both for him and for Quatrero and Matheny, who are obviously different for a number of reasons, but they can prove that to you here. That doesn't have to be cutting him, eating the money, and letting him go just be average for some, or average. Let him go be someone else's problem. If he's not getting in the way of the bigger picture and the long-term plans, let JJ and Quatrero prove to you that they're not going to just play the vet for no reason.
What the question would be is, if Garcia keeps playing a representative third base, keeps playing fine over there defensively, and he's batting .296. That has continually gone, the way of water finding its level. Yep. When he came out like, gangbusters the first few games, and he was batting like, .560. And now he's batting .300. 8 of 27 still. .300 still awesome over a 7-game stretch. But if he continues to play like, okay, he's better than Dozier, and at least he might be some part of the future. He might be 1 of 26. Even if he's a utility infielder, he's 1 of 26. if Nicky Lopez or when Nicky Lopez comes back, or when Drew Waters is ready to go, I don't know that Isbell will be ready to go. That looked like a pretty bad hamstring tear. That looked like it might be a month, maybe 6 weeks to be out. That thing was awful. So who knows when Isbell's going to be back. But Nicky Lopez, for one, when he comes back, what happens to Dozier?
That's a good question.
Because Prado's up. Prado can play outfield. Olivares can play outfield. We know that MJ Melendez is there. So they've got versatility in Prado. They've got versatility in Garcia. And they would have Nicky Lopez back up. It would be incredibly redundant for Dozier to be on the team. And then how much playing time does he get after that? Because defensive replacements become Nicky Lopez.
Absolutely.
And you taking Garcia off the team if he's playing like this? You're not taking Jackie Bradley Jr. off the team because Dozier ain't playing center field. You're not taking Olivares off the team. If Prado continues to play like this, you're sure as heck not, sending him down. You're sending down Freddie Fermin and having MJ Melendez be the backup catcher? No.
Don't want to do that.
So who would be the odd man out? It would be, in theory, Dozier.
Yep.
That is a big crossroads to see what this organization, where they're at, and how they view these particular players, and maybe the bigger picture they will be looking at it through, whatever lens that is somebody else on their way up I-29 to Omaha, and Dozier is continuing to be the sacred cow.
Yeah. I think that's the right question and the right timeline to put it on. Because if there's a point where keeping Hunter Dozier on the roster is making your team worse, not in the starting lineup, but on the roster is making your team worse, that's when I think the organization has some responsibility to make the difficult move. But if Nicky Lopez's recovery takes a little bit longer, or someone currently in this starting lineup gets hurt before he returns, I would not feel any better about one less, again, with a little bit of the air quotes, utility defender being on this roster. I don't need to see more shakeup there. And then when Nicky Lopez is back and ready, that's a moment to make that decision. And if they send Michael Garcia back down and Hunter Dozier to third baseman, I will change my tone. But I'm in this exact moment in time, I don't think anyone should let Hunter Dozier ruin their day today.
I am. I'm in agreement with that. I'm in agreement. And are they a worse team with Dozier just simply on the roster as opposed to whoever else?
Right. And who would it? I mean,
if not him, then who? We hear.
I'm sure there are more exciting names and options. I'm not sure there are more practical ones, especially not for somebody who wants to get every day at bats right now. I mean,
yeah, because if you're bringing somebody up and you're saying, well, this guy's better, do you want them being up for 7 games and having 8 at bats?
Exactly.
In 7 games?
No.
I certainly wouldn't want that. So it's like, down in Omaha. Well, okay, well, why don't you bring up Nick Lofton? Okay, so then Nick Lofton comes up and gets 9 at bats over 7 games?
Right.
No, I don't want him doing that.
Nope.
I want other guys that are going to be out there that are going to be playing a lot. Samad Taylor's batting .309.
Yeah, let him play.
Right. Okay.
Let him play baseball somewhere.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
So bring him up, second base and center field and everything. Well, okay, we'll bring him up for Dozier. If Drew Waters has another setback and it's like Jackie Bradley Jr. is the only center fielder, and you're like, okay, well, Taylor can play center field and second base. Nick Lofton, they've put him out at center field a little bit in second base. He can play that. He play third base. You've got some guys. Okay, so now this guy becomes sort of not necessarily a platoon, but it's 2 for 1 with this player and Jackie Bradley Jr. that would be out there playing center field because now Waters has a setback and Isbell isn't near ready. So then, one of these guys gets called up and then Dozier is gone. It's like, then you become a better team with this particular player there instead of Hunter Dozier. But right now, I want those guys to continue to get at bats. I want Samad Taylor to get every day at bats in Omaha. I want Nick Lofton to get every day at bats in Omaha. I want that to continue to happen for them down in the minors while Dozier is offering next to nothing, but he's not playing very often. Yep. He's been you'll mix him in when guys need a day off. Bobby Witt got a day off on Friday. Okay. Here's Hunter Dozier at third base and Garcia at short. Okay, this person gets a day off. Okay, here's Hunter Dozier in the game for that. But it's 2 starts in the last 7 games. Seems like a role player bench, 26th man when you're talking about an offense. And you're overpaying for that. but you're not starting him every day, and he's blocking somebody, which was my big beef with Santana last year, and O'Hearn at times last year was Vinny Pasquantino, Nick Pratto. What are they doing down in Omaha? They're playing pretty damn good baseball, and yet we're watching Santana and O'Hearn play first base and bat and whatever the heck is going on here. No, at least give me those guys so I can see what they're doing, because what else did Vinny Pasquantino have to prove? The answer was nothing.
Nothing.
He had nothing else to prove, and he has just been hitting the ball ever since. The Dozier conversation has sort of gone to the back burner for me because of Garcia.
And they're doing the right thing with Garcia.
Yes, that's right. And because of Quattrero actually using him the way that it would seem like a smart organization would do that.
Hunter Dozier is a 31-year-old role player. If you, the fan, can forget about the money and not worry about how much John Sherman's paying him, I think that he can come back around full circle to at least not bug you anymore.
Unless the money is just simply symbolic, and that's it. And it's here's how we are different than years past. We will eat the $15 million left on what we're going to pay Hunter Dozier, and we will move on from him. But that is a bridge they'll have to cross when they get to a point of having their roster healthier and say, Nicky Lopez is back, I'll take Lopez over Dozier. Okay, boom. Dozier, got to go. DFA'd, $15 million more dollars. Great, appreciate it. Fine career, filled a role while going through the rebuild. Hopefully you have success, somewhere else. Best of luck, sir. Or maybe it's just, he's got options, right? Maybe it's just simply send him down to the minors. Just, okay, we're moving on. We'll just eat the money, and you're not going to be a part of the big league club. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will wrap up this hour. Adam Teicher, a lot of football going on with Adam in the 11 o'clock hour. We will talk with him with a mini camp going on with the rookies and wrapping up, and then also, him being out there and checking those things out, and Donovan Smith. So we will talk with Adam Teicher coming up at 11 o'clock, and then Les Norman coming up at noon as we continue rolling along with more Zone right after this.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
So a big shout out to my friends over at Pyramid Roofing. Spring in the Midwest, the weather can be rough. It may not have been specifically in our backyard, but we're watching the Derby, and the next thing you know, breaking in with a weather event because there's a tornado on the ground somewhere in the viewing area. Well, that's probably not the last time we're going to see, the break-in with the weather because there's something going on. We know that in the spring and early summer, tornadoes, high winds, hailstorms, they could take a beating on your roof, and the house is probably your biggest investment. For us, one of the issues we had was we had old gutters. We had old gutters that were attached to wood that was rotting, and wood that also had, some holes that were in the wood, some spots missing, which then birds were getting into the attic, which was a problem because where there's birds, there's some kind of gross things that they leave behind when they're flying in and out of that. Not great. So we needed that fixed. We needed bigger gutters. We needed some other things around the roof, and Pyramid Roofing came out, took care of everything for us. You want to trust a company that's been in Kansas City for over 30 years. It looks great. The new wood that's there, painted perfectly. The downspouts, all of that. The bigger downspouts, the bigger gutters, all of that, perfect. The gutter guard, perfect in time for the weather that's coming in. A lot more rain. We just needed to make sure that when the rain came, our gutters, our house was equipped to alleviate all of those things and not have certain issues in certain areas. Pyramid Roofing, the only call you need to make, 816-966-1101. You can check them out, pyramidroofingkc.com. That's Pyramid Roofing, 816-966-1101.
The longest family-owned restaurant in Kansas City is Dixon's Famous Chili. All-you-can-eat tacos every day, and kids eat free on Wednesday. Dixon's is 7 blocks north of the stadium's on
We continue on this Tuesday edition of The Zone presented by Google Fiber, the best internet provider out there that you can find. The 1 gig still the same price since 2012, which is awesome. Price hikes, increases that go on with so many other companies not at Google Fiber, and it is now available up to 5 gigs. I'm going to ask Les Norman about this coming up in the noon hour, but Brady Singer, the struggles that he has had this year, he has 2 outings so far this year in which he has given up fewer than 5 runs. Fewer than 5 in 2 outings. He's had 7 outings so far. Fewer than 5 runs, only twice that he has gone out there. And only twice has he pitched past the 5th inning. And 2 other times he hasn't got to the 5th inning. And he's had command issues. He's had some walk issues. Not striking out at some of the same rates that we had seen for Singer, including, throwing the changeup in there. And I don't know what's going on between the ears for Brady Singer. If there's a small tweak in the mechanics that they're working on with Sweeney and Brady Singer. They talked about a different grip for one of his pitches and everything, and it's like, I've thrown this, and it was a great pitch because Sweeney said, hey, why don't you hold it this way? So maybe there's some of that going on because Dylan Coleman, I don't even think he's pitched in AAA yet. I think he's just working off on the side. Like there are things he's trying to get him to work on, or they are trying to get him to work on, and he's doing that. Not actually in a game. We're going to get this rolling. Then when you start to get it, we'll put you on the mound. Then ultimately, you get this figured out, you'll be up with the big league club. But we can't have you up with the big league club working on it. And since you're down at AAA, you're not taking a roster spot on the big league club, so we can have you off on the side working on these things. Okay, great. Develop that. I wonder if there's an element of Brady Singer went into this offseason thinking he was going to get some more money. And there was a talk of Brady Singer long-term contract. Do you give Brady Singer, is he going to be $100 million? Is he going to be the Danny Duffy that you paid $100 million to? Went into arbitration. They were separated by what, $300,000?
Pocket change.
And the Royals went to arbitration and said, no, we're not giving you the $300,000. We don't think you've earned it. Royals won. Singer lost arbitration. Dayton Moore would not have done that. So there's a change already. If you want to say, well, what's the difference? And you can view that as a bad thing and going, well, now they're pinching pennies. Dayton Moore would have just simply paid it, right? But the Rays wouldn't have. Yeah. The Rays go to arbitration all the time with players, and they're pretty successful. So if we're talking about, well, the Rays do this, Rays do... Well, they went to Brady Singer and said, here's the offer. And he said, no, I want this. And they said, well, we think you're worth this. Let's go to an arbiter. Okay, well, Brady Singer lost. He obviously wasn't happy about that. And then the interview that he did with Seren, to me, made it even more obvious he wasn't happy about that. And then when Seren asked about, being around in Kansas City and signing a long-term contract, and he's like, well, I do like the fans. I'm paraphrasing, but it was pretty obvious what he was saying in that, I'm happy. I like the fans here. Organization, management, whatever, take it or leave it. But the fans, I like. So this will be a question for Les Norman because I've never been in that position before. But you go into an offseason thinking you're going to get a lot of money, and then you lose the arbitration hearing, and the Royals are presenting reasons why you don't deserve that money. For somebody that we've talked about not necessarily on the mound, being able between the ears to keep it locked in, that something happens and he just loses focus and he starts to melt. Is there bleed over from the offseason for Brady Singer, who we wonder, does he have it fully between the ears to lock in, which is difficult when you're talking about even 10,000 people out there and on the mound and something's going wrong. The uber confidence that these guys have to have. I mean, we're talking about, well, can he keep it together between the ears as a major league pitcher when it's probably 10 levels higher than, can you keep it together between the ears when you're doing a segment with Adam Teicher? I think so. But it's a higher level of, does this guy have it? Does he melt down? Well, that has been one of the criticisms of Brady Singer. And I wonder if that has bled over into this year to where it's just like pissed off at the world. And I'm pissed off at the world. And am I going out here to prove that last year was that? And I should have got my money. The flip side of that is if you were pissed off about the money you got last year in arbitration, well, keep on keeping on because your 9 ERA ain't going to get you much.
For me, it was Corbin Burns with the Brewers because he was open and outspoken about how frustrated he was about that arbitration process. He's making $10 million instead of $10.75, and I don't. For him, it wasn't that bit of money, and for Singer, I don't know if it's about $300,000. And for the Royals, you think, hey, for me, if I was John Sherman, I think this would be worth the little bonus you're basically adding on here. But going through that process of having to sit there while you are hearing all of the reasons that your team doesn't think you're worth a little bit of extra money, like just. The strain that has to put on that relationship must be tremendous. So whatever is going on with Singer at this point, it would be hard to blame him for not taking all of that incredibly well. Because the player's not doing the inverse. The player's not, well, I should get more money because I'm here on this worthless franchise with this dumb, poor owner. Like, that's not how it goes. That's a one-way street. So it's fascinating to me, and for it to parlay into the start he's had this year. Not great, Bob.
I don't know if, what the motivate. Every player has different motivations, right? I don't know if his motivation is you know what, bleep you, I'm going to prove you wrong. Or it's a coddling of, no, you're great. Okay, yeah, I am great. Now I'm going to go out there and I need the affirmation. I need that praise. That's how I fill up my cup, as they say these days. But last year it was when Dayton Moore came on the show and said, I told Brady Singer that you may never be back up here. That was a challenge of, okay, and go and prove it. Not you can't do it or I'm going to prove you wrong. They didn't say, no, you're not good enough, dude. You suck here, you suck there. No, I'm going to prove you wrong. It was, do this and you can come back up. We'll talk with Adam Teicher next.
In my job, I never held back. I played hurt and I pushed through the pain.
This SportsCenter is brought to you by Greenlight Dispensary. Check out Greenlight Dispensary for their outstanding customer service and superior product, and discover why Greenlight is continuously voted Missouri's best. Open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. For more information and to find a location near you, visit them online at greenlightdispensary.com. Over the weekend, Sporting Kansas City got on the board their first multi-goal game of the MLS season, their first win of the MLS season, winning 2-1 over the Seattle Sounders. And then last night, the Royals get their first win here against the Chicago White Sox, 12-5. Zach Greinke on the mound with a solid outing, a home run from MJ Melendez, the fireworks of that outing. Then last night in the NBA playoffs, the Heat and Lakers both go up 3-1 over the Warriors and Knicks. Flipped order. Heat over the Knicks, Lakers over the Warriors. You know how conferences work. Adam Teicher of ESPN, the Talk Chiefs, next in the Zone.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Briscoe and Drake hanging out on this Tuesday, beautiful Tuesday. Adam Teicher from ESPN joins us here in the show. Adam, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
Good, Jason. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. Did you figure out and find out who the Hall of Famers were of the group this past weekend by watching them run around in Chiefs uniforms?
Well, they all are.
I knew it.
It's just a matter of which team they're going to be playing for, but they're all going to be wearing the gold jackets at some point. Yes, there's about 80 of them, and I think there's a 99% chance they're all going to end up in Canton.
It's going to be one hell of a look back at the rookie minicamp for that Chiefs team of just how amazing the scouting was that they found all those Hall of Famers in different places. But in all seriousness, what can you glean from a weekend of? We've heard the names, we see the highlights from college, and maybe some all-star games, some East-West, some different games like that, and then they go out there in a jersey and a helmet. What can you glean when you're out there watching those guys play?
Not a whole lot, particularly the linemen, the guys who are, really make their living, hitting people and when the pads come on. So it's kind of tough for those guys. For a guy like Rashee Rice, you can kind of see that he's got a little something to him. The Chiefs were using him. They intend to get him the ball with, let him run with the ball in his hands. And, so they were throwing him a bunch of screens, and I'm sure they'll get going with the jet sweeps when things get going with him. And a couple moves he put on in the open field on guys that you thought, well, hey, even with pads on, does the guy make the tackle? And when they're playing real football, maybe not. So there's a little something to him, and. There was a couple other guys who caught your eye, but the Chiefs are looking at a lot of different things, not just necessarily who can, make a play or two when you're wearing shorts and a jersey, as opposed to when you're playing real football. They're looking for things that might transfer when the football becomes real. So. But still, and for the guys themselves, it's a start. I mean, you saw more false start penalties and more blown coverages and more routes run the wrong way over the weekend in those 3As. You're going to see all year, and that's to be expected. The guys are just learning, and the Chiefs will have a little bit of patience with that now, or they would have at the rookie camp. The guys are just getting started, but that now it's when the Chiefs get back on the field in a couple weeks as a group for the first time, then it's going to be they're going to have the expectation is going to be a lot higher.
Has Andy evolved over the years with rookie minicamp in maybe the installs or the amount that's put on the plate for the rookies, and maybe more importantly, the higher draft picks that you feel like are going to be playing a role at some point this year through, once they get to camp, once they get into a Chiefs uniform, a week after they're drafted? Or has it just been boilerplate, a template that's been there for 10, 15 years of this is what we do in the first weekend, this is the amount that we put on the plate for the rookies in their first few days, and it's what we do each and every year?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't changed a lot. I mean, they had some long install periods, particularly on Saturday and Sunday. They were working on those for a while, so it certainly doesn't look like they've changed anything. his way is not to, okay, we're going to give these new guys a little bit and kind of spoon feed them and let them figure it out, and then we'll move on to something else once they've mastered it. No, that's not the way. I mean, they're going to throw a lot at guys in just a couple days, and let them sink or swim, really. That's how they operate, and so there's not a whole lot of time to ramp up in that regard. That's why you saw as many, mental mistakes as you did over the weekend. But you see that every year at rookie camp. That's just how it goes. They're just sort of figuring things out right now.
It is amazing that you would be a coach and a coaching staff going from practicing for the Super Bowl and at the ultimate level, and players that are just crisp and clean throughout the season of, preparing. And then the next time you're out there with guys and going through drills, it's a bunch of rookies that are jumping off sides and false starting and don't know the plays and are running the wrong routes, and the verbiage is all different. That is a stark contrast from just a few months away.
Yeah, but you know what? If you're a football coach, you love that part of it. You love being a teacher. You have to love that part of it, and if you don't, you're probably in the wrong business. So it certainly is certainly a different deal, but doesn't mean they don't enjoy it. I think most of those coaches do end up enjoying this weekend, just because they're really more teacher than coach right now. Yeah,
Adam Teicher's our guest from ESPN. When you talk to those around the Chiefs organization when it comes to Rashee Rice, how much do they think the injury last year with the foot, the bone, the turf toe, broken bone, whatever it ended up being, how much do they think it impacted his play overall? He was asked about it, and it felt like he wanted to downplay it a little bit, and maybe he didn't want to talk about the seriousness because it would maybe sound like an excuse or something. I don't know. We're just getting to know these guys and their personalities and maybe ways they answer questions, but he said, well, no, it did impact, but hey, I got to go out there and do all these other things. And so how much do you think the Chiefs felt like, or maybe even you think that the injury to Rashee Rice last year may have slowed down his explosiveness a little bit?
Yeah, I think there is an awareness of that, but, more importantly, going forward, they're convinced that, he's past that they don't think it'll be an issue for him going forward. So, they've talked a little bit about that, and they're aware of, what happened there, but still had a nice year. I mean, still
96 receptions.
Was a productive player. Yeah. That's. I think a lot of guys will take that bad foot or no bad foot. So, the Chiefs were pretty happy with what they saw from him, and looked like there's some things to work with, no doubt, from what I was able to see from the last 3 days.
Well, and the thing that we've talked about with Rashee Rice is people talking about, and it's one of the things that I've brought up is like, hey, is there explosiveness missing in terms of the top end speed or the route running, how crisp it is, or their small little details of double routes or a small move here or a wiggle there just to get open. And it's like, well, he was covered a lot, and he's probably covered a lot. You don't really want guys that are covered a lot or making contested catches because, that means they weren't getting open. But even if that's the case, like his, contested catches that he had, which were a pretty decent amount, at least percentage-wise across the country, but it wasn't all of them. You know what I mean? Like he had 96 receptions last year. It's not like he had 92 receptions on contested catches, and 4 on catches that were open. It just the number that I've seen, and I haven't seen the raw numbers of the contested catches. I saw that 40% catch rate on contested catches, which is phenomenal. But also, it's not like every single play and every single pass to Rice, he was double covered or blanketed, and he had to fight people off like he's Barkley going for a rebound to go and catch it. It feels like, there were plenty of open routes, and he's really good in picking out the zones. And then he's also got elite ability at the catch point and finding a way to come down with the rebound, which is what he talked about from basketball days, which I thought was interesting tie-in for him being a basketball player that, go get the rebound and bring it down.
Yeah, you can't catch 96 passes when you're covered on every one of those, well covered on every one of those 96 passes. Yeah. That's not going to happen. Number two, the Chiefs aren't necessarily looking for him to make plays down the field. I mean, that's not necessarily what they're going to be asking of him. I mean, they like the idea of him running with the ball in his hands, and so you're going to see him getting the ball on screens and probably jet sweeps and things of that nature to where they think he's best, which is running with the ball in his hands. And not to say they wouldn't throw the ball to him down the field. I think there'll be some of that as well. But, they don't need that. That's not necessarily what they're going to be asking him to make his living on, at least not as a rookie. And the Chiefs don't need that necessarily from him. They've got a bunch of other guys who can get down the field and make plays. So I don't know that that's going to be his role right away. We'll see what it ends up being. But I think the Chiefs have some different things in mind for him than what maybe a lot of fans are expecting.
Do you think he's got the potential to have a bigger impact production-wise, maybe even just raw numbers-wise, than Sky Moore in his rookie season with the different skills and skill sets and attributes they bring to the table?
Yeah, I think he's going to have to. I mean, Sky Moore only caught during the regular season, 22 passes? Do I have that right?
22 for 250,
Yeah, that's a little more than one a game. I think they're going to need more from him. And, yes, I think if you're asking me if that's the over-under, those numbers you just gave me were the over-under, I'll take the over for Rashee Rice on that. I'm not going to be maybe tremendously over, but I would definitely say he's going to have a bigger impact as a rookie than Sky Moore did as a rookie. And, if not, I wonder if that's maybe a little bit of a sign of trouble here for the Chiefs because I think they're going to need him.
The reason I think that there is that chance of the potential for a higher production is, Sky Moore being a smaller receiver, I think a lot of Sky Moore's game is going to be route running, getting open from that standpoint underneath. And when you're trying to learn the offense while also trying to learn what the defense is doing, and when they're switching coverages in the middle of a route, and you have to be on the same page with Patrick Mahomes, and if you go over the safety, it's an interception, or go under the safety, what you're supposed to do, and then does Mahomes trust you, all of those things, I think it makes it more difficult to acclimate yourself. While Rashee Rice has those same things that he has to go through, again, we talk about the contested catches, the catch point. There's more of a chance of Mahomes going, well, I got Rice over here, number 4. I'm going to throw the back shoulder to him because I know he's going to go up and get it. I've got that trust in him, where you didn't have that with Sky Moore. He had to be running the routes in the right place. Mahomes hit him, between the 2 and the 4 and let him go and make plays. Rice is sort of like, it gives you the opportunity of, well, he's down there against somebody 5'9" is guarding him. I'm going to throw it to him. He's not even open, but I don't care. He's open.
Yeah. There's a good chance for some of that. And again, I think there's going to be the Chiefs are going to design some things, some catches for him. The screens and the pop passes off the jet sweep movement. I think there's going to be a lot of that. So I think between just the 2 of those, forget about what he gets downfield. I think there's a chance he gets close to 22 catches,
Yeah, we'll see if that's the case. Did Andy Reid kind of say, the guy's out of shape? Maybe a welcome to the league, Rook, that, wide receivers in this offense, this is how we run things. You're going to have to come – next time you're here, I'm going to need you in better shape.
Yeah, there's an adjustment for him and a lot of guys, the Chiefs don't mess around on the practice field. I mean, it's truly remarkable how efficient they are. You've heard me talk about this, Jason, year after year after year, but it's true. And it's a big factor in why they're always ready or almost always ready when the regular season starts, why they get off to fast starts. Is that they get so much good work done whenever they're on the practice field. So, it's going to be adjustment for him. I mean, there were a couple guys who got sick on the practice field during the weekend. On Sunday, I think that was probably the hottest of the 3 days. And it's going to be an adjustment for some guys. No doubt about it. But we've seen it with other guys, too. I mean, they've got to learn how the Chiefs do things.
Yep, and better to get it right away. So, next time you show up for minicamp, you understand what the expectations are going to be, because it's one thing that I always marveled about Adam with Tyreek Hill. It was like he never got tired. It was like his battery was never on empty. Like he always had full batteries. I don't know how you do that, but it's the conditioning. It's 24/7. He's built different than most everybody else. It never seemed like he was tired.
But there were times you'd see him at practice, in the OTAs or even up at St. Joe, where you'd say, okay, he's cooked. He's done for today. You know, he just looks like he's fried. And then he'd put his helmet on and go back out there and play like he always plays. So, you know, the guy he was just amazing with that.
Last one in this segment, and then we'll get into the offensive line and a bigger conversation from the last week that I want to save a little bit more time for. But your piece on Kadarius Toney at ESPN of the Chiefs and viewing the number one wide receiver, I thought it was a great point that this is the first time that the Chiefs, and heck, I don't even know the last time that the Chiefs went into the season without a, hey, here's your number one wide receiver in your traditional sense of a number one wide receiver where, you know, Juju last year had been a number one wide receiver with the Steelers, so we knew what that was like. Tyreek Hill for so many years, Jeremy Maclin, Dwayne Bowe, like we have seen the Chiefs go into a season with, well, you know who your number one guy is. MVS isn't a number one guy. Tony's been sort of a guy to use in different ways. We know Sky Moore isn't the number one guy. James and Watson. I thought it was a really good point. And how much of that, Adam, is that, you know, as you wrote about, that they believe that Tony is that guy. We just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and, you know, I think he's going to have a big season. And if he doesn't, if he's hurt or just doesn't produce like the Chiefs hope, what's this going to look like? You know, is somebody else going to step up? I don't know that they have that guy who's capable of filling that role even on a part-time deal. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see how he responds to all this because, you know, Chiefs clearly liked him when he came out. They were hoping he would fall to them. They tried to trade for him, as we know, this time last year. Didn't happen, and so they've kind of been stalking the guy a little bit, and you know, they finally got him. And usually that's a sign that you really believe in him, and so. You know, maybe it'll work out for him, but yeah, he's going to have to. It is going to be a different deal for the Chiefs, and so much of it, to me, depends on how he does this year.
Yeah, I thought it was odd when Veach went to the Meadowlands and stood outside with a boombox. You know, just for Kadarius Toney, just stalking him from the tree with binoculars. The way they rebuilt their wide receiver room too, like they spent money on Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but the three of their top four receivers going into the season are draft picks, second round, and third round. They traded a third rounder for Kadarius Toney, second rounder for Rice, and second rounder for Sky Moore. So three of their top four are day two picks, essentially. One of them with the first round grade in Kadarius Toney. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Adam, we'll get into Donovan Smith. Andy Reid saying he's the left tackle and is going to be starting, and Jawan Taylor at the right side. What's taken place this offseason and what the last week has done for the Chiefs' offensive line and maybe even moving forward into 24, 25, et cetera. We'll do that coming up on the other side of the break. Chiefs' offensive line with a new left tackle and a new right tackle / left tackle / back to right tackle. We'll do that more next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com.
Continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, The Zone, presented by Google Fiber. Award-winning internet, no data caps, no contracts, or hidden fees. Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN. All right, Adam, let's get back into the Chiefs and not the mini camp, but what took place this last week. Last time we talked with you, they did not have an offensive lineman on the team that they have now, and that is Donovan Smith, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer. He was signed up to $9 million, around $4 million, and then we'll see what all the incentives are. Hasn't really been released yet. And the initial reaction is nice depth, and then we come to learn that no, they view him as a starter. And Andy Reid yesterday saying he is running with the ones at left tackle, Jawaan Taylor to the right side. What do you make and what do you take away from the Chiefs bringing in Donovan Smith? It looks like, at least right now, he's the starting left tackle.
What an interesting move, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering whether we're going to be looking back at this in 9 months or whatever and saying, wow, what an underrated move that was. I think it has that potential. I don't know that we will, though. He had the lowest pass block win rate and the lowest run block win rate of his career last year. So what, does that mean he's on the career slide, or does that mean he was injured and couldn't do the things he needed to do? Obviously, we know which way the Chiefs think about that. So, we'll see. And it seems to me that Donovan Smith has been playing for the Bucs forever, right? I thought he was like 50 years old. I mean, I thought he was blocking when Steve Young was their Bucs quarterback, and Vinny Testaverde and Trent Dilfer. I mean, seriously, I thought he was blocking for all those guys.
Getting this Bo Jackson guy. We're drafting him because Donovan Smith at left tackle is going to open up some holes for this kid. Exactly. So I really thought he was that old. I was unbelievably surprised to find out he's only 29 years old. 29. Yeah. I thought he'd been in the league like 20 years. So, he was going to be 30 when the season starts. He'll be 30 in a few weeks. But still, relatively young guy, if he's healthy and motivated, I think this could be one of those signings we look back at again in 9 months and say, you know what, that's one of the moves that put the Chiefs back in the Super Bowl, because, he couldn't be that kind of player when he's healthy. It's so funny you say that because I had the same reaction when I'm like, all right, let me do a deeper dive into Donovan Smith. And I go and look at the age, and it's 29.6. I'm like, I had to do a double take. 20. I was expecting to see 33 or 34. Like, he's kind of washed. All right. So he had a good year a couple of years ago, but that cliff hits pretty quickly. And yeah, he had a number of injuries last year, but you're talking about somebody who's 33, 34 with injuries, and he's not even 30 yet. Okay, so let's do a deeper dive here on this whole thing. And it is fascinating though, because it feels like, I don't know. Well, I'll ask you this. Was this part of the plan all along that we look at Donovan Smith now, and my first reaction was, okay, there's depth. There's an option. There's another piece to the 5 offensive linemen that'll ultimately be out there. And if you're looking at the 2 deep at different positions, was it more that the real strategy was the Chiefs signed Jawaan Taylor, that if they didn't get a left tackle, he will play left tackle, but the plan was to maybe ultimately find somebody to play that left side and keep Jawaan Taylor over at the right side? Or do you think this sort of came together, as pieces started falling and dominoes in different places, that, all right, well, now they get Donovan Smith and Jawaan Taylor's at the right side? How do you think the strategy was to start the year when they signed Jawaan Taylor versus what it is today on May 9th?
Well, they would have played Jawaan Taylor on the left side had they not felt like they had a better option. If they felt like he was the best of their options at left tackle, then they would have done that. But the timing of the Donovan Smith signing tells you everything. I mean, the Chiefs were waiting. Are we going to get a guy in the first round, or a second round, or whatever round it might be, who we feel like is ready to be a starting left tackle in the NFL? And obviously they didn't feel like Wanya Morris is that kind of guy right now. So, and they don't have anybody else. So, they said, okay, all right, this is the guy who we feel like can bounce back, play a good left tackle for us, allow us to pay, and that'll allow us to move Jawaan Taylor back to his maybe more natural position, and at least the position he's most comfortable with. And then we'll see what happens next year in 2024. Is Wanya Morris, ready to play then, or be a starter then?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, which side? And he was playing a little bit on both sides over the weekend, mostly at left tackle, but played some on the right side too. So I think that's going to have a lot to do with what their plans are in 2024. But right now. This was just sort of okay, we would have been okay. I mean, if Donovan Smith had said no, then we probably would have gone with, Chiefs probably would have gone with Taylor on the left side, and then maybe Niang, maybe Morris, who knows, on the right side. But looks like we'll never know the answer to that question now.
No, the point about Wanya playing the left side at minicamp, I think is an interesting one, because when they signed Donovan Smith and it was like, okay, is Wanya Morris and Niang, are they going to be competing on the right side while it's Jawaan Taylor and Donovan Smith on the left side? And Taylor's going to be starting the left tackle, and then Donovan Smith's going to be depth there in case something were to happen to Taylor. You feel pretty good that you're not going to Prince or having to move Tooney from left guard out there to left tackle to really feel comfortable with Mahomes. But then when it's like, okay, no, Donovan Smith is going to be viewed as a starter and Jawaan Taylor to the right side, I wonder, okay, well, what's the view then of Wanya Morris? Is it, here's a developmental guy who has all the traits that the Chiefs love, the Stretch Armstrong arms, the athleticism and balance, and so many of his issues are technique and feet stopping when he makes contact, things that are more teachable than the traits that are not teachable that he already comes to the table with. And I look at it, Adam, and I'm like, okay, so is this an Andy Heck, an Andy Reid, where this guy's got everything we can't coach? We're going to get the other things out of him. And in 2024, he's our left tackle, and we move on from Donovan Smith, and we don't have to move Jawaan Taylor over to the right side, because it is interesting if the plan was for Jawaan Taylor to move to the left side, and then you push that off for one more year, and then it's like, okay, well, now in 2024, are you going to move him to the left side with a couple more years on his contract? That whole strategy is interesting, but seeing Wanya at left tackle, and I know he played both, but seeing him out there working at left tackle, I think it was an interesting data point to the discussion.
Yeah, and now this thing can go a lot of different ways for the Chiefs. What do they do? They could have Wanya Morris be their backup left tackle, and maybe Niang was the backup at right, or maybe they flop that when the season starts, and if something happens to Donovan Smith, they would start Niang on the left side, and or if something happens to Jawaan Taylor, then Morris is the right tackle. I mean, this thing can go a lot of different ways, and the Chiefs have that flexibility now, and that's a good place to be. To have a lot of different options to solving some problems is always what you want, and that's kind of what this signing does for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and it looking back to the Jawaan Taylor signing, and when it was first announced, and okay, he can play left tackle, and they can move him over, and then the press conference with him saying, playing wherever they need me to play, I'll go and play that spot. The strategy may not be, okay, so you need a left tackle, so you then are going to get this particular piece of the puzzle and put it right there. Are you going to go get this piece of the puzzle and you're going to put it right there, which certainly is part of it, but the Jawaan Taylor signing, because they lose both Orlando Brown and Andrew Wiley, sort of felt like, hey, let's go get good players. And Jawaan Taylor is the best tackle out there available, right side, left side, whatever it is, just the best value we can get at tackle, because we're not going to play this game with Orlando Brown and wait it out and see what he gets from somebody else, and then what we can offer him, and then is he signed yet? And by the time that happens, Taylor's on a different team, and now we're really scrambling because, he got paid more than we were willing to offer. Nope, you didn't want our offer, fine, we're moving on. We're going to go get good players, and we'll find the best 5 to go out there on the field. And if it means we're paying $20 million annually for a right tackle, then so be it, because we've just got better at right tackle. Did we get worse at left tackle? We'll find out, but we got better at right tackle, and we're just going to bring in good players, not, well, left tackle, we have to go and sign a specific left tackle. We got to go and sign a specific right tackle, and we have to go and sign a specific this and a specific that. Rather, let's get some good players in here, and the coaches will figure out where they go.
Yeah, and let me ask you, Jason, do you feel like the Chiefs are better at tackle now with what we know than they were last season? I can't tell you that. My opinion is I can't tell you that they are, but I think there's that potential. I think they very well could be a better at tackle this season than they have been in the last couple of years.
Yeah, did they get better at right tackle to a level of downgrading from Brown to Donovan Smith? And it may not even be a downgrade if Donovan Smith was injured all of last year and he plays like he did in 2022, 2021. But even if he gives you the level of Orlando Brown the last couple of years, then yeah, they're better at tackle because they got better. I like Wiley, but Jawaan Taylor's pretty darn good as a right tackle. So they got better there. And maybe they just rearranged some deck chairs on the, with Orlando Brown and Donovan Smith. So I think the potential is there for being better at tackle. I think maybe the known. There's more unknowns. The knowns were maybe more comfortable a year ago at this time, that Orlando Brown was year number 2. Wiley finished the year at right tackle, and he held his own. He can go into the season starting at right tackle. If Niang beats him out, but he's not really healthy, we'll see what happens there. But you've got your 5 that you ended the season with, that you're going to start the season with, and they weren't the issue as to why you ended up losing in the AFC Championship game, where now you win a Super Bowl and you lose both tackles, and you bring guys in that guy who plays right tackle could move to the left side, and then Donovan Smith on the left side, who the Bucs said, we're done, we're moving on from. So there are more question marks this year, with the potential of them being better, the 5 across the board than they were a year ago.
Yeah, and I think you feel better about the depth now too.
That's true. Absolutely.
Now, yep. If there's an injury, the Chiefs can go to a guy who's played a little bit, Lucas Niang, or they can go to a draft pick who may or may not be ready yet to play in the NFL. We'll have to see, but certainly the Chiefs believe that at some point he will, because they traded up to get him. So I think they have just better depth as well, as opposed, in addition to maybe having better potential in their starting lineup.
Does it matter to you how they allocate the resources at tackle versus right versus left, and the millions of dollars, the $20 million annually for Jawaan Taylor if he plays the right side versus the $4 million base for Donovan Smith this year? Does it matter how they allocate the money to the offensive line to you, the way that some of that conversation has taken place since they signed Donovan Smith?
No, and here's the thing about Jawaan Taylor. I still feel like, even though it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year, I still feel like at some point he's going to be the Chiefs' left tackle. Whether it's in 2024, maybe some point beyond, I still feel like the odds are pretty good that that's going to happen. But even if it doesn't, as long as he's a good player, no, it doesn't matter. And, they got Donovan Smith on a relatively inexpensive deal this year, and then if Jawaan Taylor's not their starting right tackle in 2024, it's probably going to be Wanya Morris, right? Mm-hmm. Then he's going to be on an inexpensive contract the next 3 seasons, 24, 25, and 26. So, you're spending on a right tackle, but you're not spending on a left tackle in any of those 4 years. So, no, I don't think it matters, as long as he's a good player, as long as he makes them a better team.
Yeah, and Jawaan Taylor is 5.8 against the cap this year, so he's not 20 against the cap. I know that people were, getting off their jokes yesterday after Andy Reid said that Donovan Smith is going to be playing left tackle. It's like $20 million for a right tackle. The Chiefs, like, $20 million for right tackle. I think the more the real criticism would be, if you're going to make some jokes about the Chiefs allocating money, would be $22 million for a left guard. Like, I'll pay $20 million for right tackle. I don't think I need to be paying $22 million for a left guard. But if you're going to be paying $22 million against the cap for a left guard, it should be one of the best, if not the best in the league, that can help out your left tackle. So Donovan Smith, who was playing next to Ali Marpet, whatever his name was, who was one of the best left guards in football, that it's like, he was protected with that guy. Okay, well, Tooney's there now, too, that he can help him out. So the having fun at the Chiefs' expense of the offensive line money allocation, to me, wouldn't be the $20 million for a right tackle. It'd be like, you're paying $22 million for a left guard, which, can make the left tackle better too. So that's really $26 million on the left side between guard and tackle.
Yeah, and $20 million for a good player, tackle, is not a lot of money. I mean, you can't afford that probably with both sides, but I don't think it's a ridiculous amount to spend. At that position, if he's a good player. Now, if he's just an average player, Jawaan Taylor is, then you have to look at that move as not being a wise one. But right now, I'm okay with it.
Since Andy Reid took over as the head coach in 2013, right now, with no other moves being made as it stands, the Chiefs' offensive line, total depth offensive line, is 20% of the cap That is the highest that it's been. 2018, it was 19.2%. That's the closest. Other than that, the next closest was 16.3% in 2020. Last year was just over 15. 2021 was 9.8% because Orlando Brown was only making 3 and change. Tooney was only making 4.5, and then you had Wiley and Niang and Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey. So you didn't have a whole lot invested in your offensive line money-wise, but you were still pretty talented there. But now that's up to 20%, which if they're spending 1/5 of their salary cap protecting Patrick Mahomes, I'm perfectly fine with that. If that's the way they're going to go about doing their business.
That's not a bad place, as we've learned in the Super Bowl against Tampa a few years ago. That's not a place a bad place for the Chiefs to be spending their money.
Yep. Which is interesting. The third highest allocation of resources to the offensive line was that 2020 season, which is kind of the common misnomer of like, well, Brett Veach, he's investing in the offensive line now. Well, no, he just had injuries. Like, eventually it's a bridge too far. Like, you can't just keep replenishing guys. When injuries and guys go down and people are playing different positions, you're 16.3% of your salary cap going to the offensive line. Well, when 3 or 4 of those guys that make up most of it are out, there's really nothing you can do. Adam Teicher is our guest. Isaiah Pacheco was playing with a torn labrum for a good portion of the season and then broke a bone in his hand against the Bengals in the AFC Championship game and still played. And we didn't know about it until a report from somebody that covers Rutgers that he had surgery on both of those. What do you make of Pacheco, who runs as hard as anybody, that he played the season? I mean, it adds to the legend, right, of Pacheco's rookie year.
Yeah, and what's funny is I saw him in Kansas City. I want to say it was a couple weeks after the parade or the Super Bowl, and he didn't have any. There was no cast or wrap or anything on his hand. So this news really did catch me by surprise. I was surprised to hear about this because evidently these surgeries didn't happen right after the season were over. So it was kind of interesting. I wonder how that affects his timing for the season, since he evidently didn't have these surgeries right away. So it's still some questions to be answered about this, but definitely an interesting situation, no doubt.
I'm guessing that he'll probably still run, and if there's a player getting ready to tackle him, he'll probably look at that person as someone who just insulted his mother. That's how I am expecting that, injured or not, how he will end up running when he's out there on the field. He's still ended up 76 yards and a touchdown against the Eagles, over 5 yards per carry in that Super Bowl.
If you can do that with a broken hand and a torn labrum, why do you need surgery, right?
That's a good point.
I mean, what's the point of it? Just let the injury stay.
Break the other hand. Let's get crazy with this.
Well, there you go.
Adam Teicher from ESPN, our guest. Adam, you're the man as always. Really appreciate the time, sir. We will talk to you next week.
All right, Jason, good stuff. Talk to you then.
Absolutely. There's Adam Teicher joining us as breaking down the Kansas City Chiefs rookie mini camp over the weekend. Andy Reid wrapping that up with his commentary yesterday with the press conference with the media as he was talking about what he saw in mini camp. I do want to take a time out and a couple of clips from Andy Reid. You heard that here on Sports Radio 810 WHB yesterday during the Zone, but a couple of clips from that press conference I want to play and get into. And also, I looked back at a draft grade from 2022 just for S's and G's, and I thought it was pretty interesting what the write-up was about the Chiefs in that draft class, because there's a piece that's out there, I think in might have been Bleacher Report, that had the most impactful rookie classes, and the Chiefs ended up being number 4. Best impactful rookie class last year. And I'm like, it got me thinking, okay, so what were people saying after the draft? I know that they got a lot of positive reviews, but what did they say? So I looked at one in particular, and I thought it was interesting, and we'll get into that too. We'll continue. More Zone presented by Google Fiber next.
You're in the Zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I wanted to do a quick look at the couple of grades of the 2022 NFL Draft. You know, we always talk about the grades after the draft are dumb. We should wait 2-3 years. The Chiefs did not get resounding grades across the board this year. It was more of a B, B-, C+, B+ in different places. And it was kind of dismissed as like, well, who cares? The grades, after the draft, those don't matter. Last year they mattered because they got A's across the board. A+, A, look what they did. They got McDuffie. He shouldn't have been there. Karlaftis, they got those 2 first-rounders. Boy, Sky Moore was a steal. You could trade back and get him. Kennard shouldn't have been there in the 5th round. What a great, draft pick that they were able to get. And so last year it was cool. We had a lot of fun. And I'm like, hey, this is draft grades are awesome. So I went and looked at a couple, but this one was great. So if we talk about just write-ups and okay, does somebody get it right? Were they wrong? Chad Reuter, NFL.com, Reuter, Reuter, R-E-U-T-E-R.
I don't think you've had to say his name out loud before.
Yeah, Chad Reuter, Chad Reuter, Chad from NFL.com, Chad R. at NFL.com.
How do you pronounce the news network? Not Chad Reuter. He's here.
I would say Reuters, right?
I would say, I think it said Reuters.
Is it Chad Reuter. Fine.
That doesn't seem, but I'm not confident in that.
Yeah.
I'm just realizing that those are spelled the same.
He's a mid-90s baseball player, Chad Reuter. NFL.com. He writes here about the Chiefs.
1 year we hit 47 home runs. 12 the year after that.
It's weird.
So strange.
So Chad Anderson. Here's his analysis, and I think this was really interesting now that we know, it's in the books and the different players that came through. This is a couple paragraphs, a little quick synopsis. The Chiefs found starters in the first round. They focused on McDuffie's cover skills and aggressiveness rather than his lack of size and length, and Karlaftis' superior hand usage and leverage rather than his lack of bend off the edge. Moore is a great fit in their offense and excellent value. Cook and Chanel are nice picks who will play roles as rookies. Williams has the size-speed combination to excel on the outside, as does Watson, who could have been picked 2 rounds earlier. Kansas City added another powerful tackle in Kennard. Pacheco was a steal in the 7th round as a fast and hard-hitting runner. That's a pretty good breakdown of what the Chiefs got after we watched them for a season.
Yep.
That was pretty spot on by Chad Reuter at NFL.com. He gave the Chiefs an A. He gave the Chiefs a B+ this year in his breakdown of the Chiefs draft. He was one of the higher graders on the Chiefs and what they were able to accomplish this year. So B+ from Chad at NFL.com. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was a really interesting write-up because it's pretty good. It's pretty good across, considering you're talking about all these different guys. Watson in the 7th. Oh, let's see what he says about Watson in the 7th round. Size-speed combination. He can excel on the outside. Should have been picked 2 rounds earlier. Awesome. Okay, well, what about Pacheco? Steal in the 7th round. Nothing about Nazeeh Johnson. He didn't really play, which had he been like, Nazeeh Johnson is the star of the 7th round. This guy is going to be an impact. How was he there in the 7th round? The guy who was the quietest, or the 2 guys that were the quietest, one of them wasn't mentioned in Nazeeh Johnson. The other one goes back to what the conversation was about Kennard at the time.
Yep.
In that he shouldn't have been here. He's going to play tackle. I know a lot of teams saw him at guard, but the Chiefs see him as a tackle, and he's a powerful player, and they'll get him in there into the system, and Andy Heck, and they'll be fine. This guy's it's a Trey Smith all over again. But to see that with Williams and Watson, 4th and 7th rounder, and no, these guys can excel. His size, speed. So I thought that was interesting, just as we sometimes kind of make fun of the early draft grades that come out. Sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes it rains.
Speaking of Chiefs things that may or may not be right, you may have seen my brow furrowed. This actually, I guess this tweet was from almost an hour ago, but I'm just now seeing it. I've been trying to figure out what is actually going on here.
Okay.
So Pro Football Talk tweets out a story with the text in the tweet being, expect Patrick Mahomes to once again be the highest paid player in football on an APY basis before week 1. So I click the story and think, okay, well, hold on. Is Florio saying the Chiefs and Mahomes working on a new deal? There's a little bit of background on his deal, Lamar Jackson's deal. Florio noting that Veach has talked about that already. And then it's While Veach didn't delve into any specifics, here's what reasonably should be expected based on our conversations with folks aware of the dynamics of the situation. Expect Mahomes, before the season begins, to once again be the highest paid player in league history. Details will be interesting and subject to differing interpretations, et cetera, 9 years left on his current deal. And then a lot of questions about it. And then writing more background about Mahomes' current deal. And no further predictive or reported information. I may have just brought a big nothing burger here and just dropped it on you to say, hey, what do you think of this nothing burger? Well, it might be an empty plate. But it's very much presented as if there is news in this story.
Well, here's
and then the most couched report I've ever seen.
Yeah. So as you were going through that, it allowed me to, sort of skim really quickly while you were going through that in real time. A couple of paragraphs here from that says Chiefs GM Brett Veach already has vowed to address the Mahomes deal after more quarterback contracts are completed. While Veach didn't delve into any specifics, here's what reasonably should be expected based on our conversation with folks aware of the dynamics of the situation. Expect Mahomes before the season begins to once again be the highest paid player in league history. The details will be interesting and subject to differing interpretations. Because Mahomes has 9 years left on his current contract, a new money average per year in excess of $52 million per year would be obtained simply by tacking 3 years and a penny more than $156 million on the back end of the existing deal. Those are the paragraphs. A lot of the other things, what you're talking about, is sort of like fluff and filler. Here's where he signed it. Here's Lamar Jackson, and here are the other players, and Jalen Hurts, and here's what could happen with Mahomes, and what's fair compensation, what's to where you've already got the deal, so it's team friendly, so just leave it alone. Based on conversation with folks aware of the dynamics of the situation, what's reasonable to be expected is that before the season begins, Mahomes will be the highest paid player in league history on an average per year basis. So he would have to get above $52 million where Lamar Jackson is.
It's just the most words I've ever seen to essentially say the word in giant air quotes sources. Here's what reasonably should be expected based on our conversations with folks aware of the dynamics of the situation.
Well, I'm aware of the dynamics of the situation.
I'm also aware of the dynamics of the situation, and I don't know that they are in any rush to get this done this year, Mike.
Yeah, the dynamics of the situation is that Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson have higher annual per year averages, Aaron Rodgers, than Patrick Mahomes does.
And
There's the dynamics of the deal.
Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert are going to get deals.
Yep.
Why would Mahomes want a deal before their deals would get done? Why would that wouldn't make any sense. I mean, maybe Florio is saying those deals are going to get done before week one also?
Right, and I guess that's what he's saying, before the season begins. So you've got till that 1st September, or whenever that Thursday night game is going to be. We'll find out on Thursday night, this Thursday, when that Thursday night game is going to be. So I don't know, up until Wednesday, before the first game of the season, that he's expected to once again be the highest paid player in league history. And if that's the case, the next question I would have is this Brett Veach and the Chiefs going to Patrick Mahomes to say, we never want you to question whether you will be taken care of here in a Chiefs uniform? Or is that Lee Steinberg saying, look, on behalf of my client, Patrick isn't really needing this, but let's go ahead and get it taken care of, and we can stop all the conversation of, he's this, he's that. Because after Herbert and Burrow, who's the next one to get a massive deal that would then make them the highest paid player in league history? Trevor Lawrence?
He's the only one who I think would be in that conversation.
Right, but is he going to get $55 million per year just because he's the next in line to do that?
Yeah.
I guess if
I don't know, maybe.
I guess if Danny Dimes can get $40 million per year, then
that's true.
A lot of us can get $50 million per year. So then is it readdressed then, or is it the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes coming together and saying, look, after Burrow and Herbert are done, the next one is really Lawrence in a couple of years, and then you would be the highest, and even if Lawrence surpasses you, you'll be the second highest for like the next 4 years.
And
so let's just go ahead and do it now and not have to worry about Mahomes is the 5th, and every single quarterback that signs, Mahomes is the 6th, Mahomes is now the 7th highest paid player annual average value.
That little blip about add 3 years and a penny more than $156 million on the end if the Chiefs wanted to do that right now, if Mahomes wanted that right now, I would do that today because you're just adding more years at the end, and you're saying, hey, here's the largest APY extension that we've ever seen. But the way the contract is set up right now, with all of the guarantee mechanisms and the moving the bonuses and all of that, it would be a little bit odd for after all the conversations about contract and pushing money around and staying flexible and everything, for it to suddenly get really rigid around Mahomes' contract demands.
It would also allow them, if they added 3 years to the deal, it would allow them to push some more money down the road and down the road and down the road and down the road and down the road, where $70 million against the cap may not be that big of a deal. Maybe a drop in the bucket, depending on where the salary cap is in 9-10 years. I don't know. I didn't think it was of great importance this offseason.
Yeah.
For Mahomes and the Chiefs to come together and say, you will be the highest paid player in league history.
Hasn't seemed that
average per year.
Yep.
But in a way, it would make sense after Burrow and Herbert, because the next one to get those deals will be a while, and he would not be number 5 for a long time.
Performance Food Service in Lee Summit is growing and looking for energetic, reliable, and hardworking individuals to join their warehouse and transportation teams. A leader in serving Kansas City, they are responsible for ensuring their customers get the products they order on time and in perfect condition. Drivers are home nightly, and most routines are local within the Kansas City area. Now offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus for Class A drivers and $1,500 for Class B drivers. Go to pfgc.com/careers and search Lee Summit Mo for more information.
Check out. Royals win back-to-back games last night. The Royals be 4-5 in their last 9 games. 3 and 4.
That'd be an exciting thing.
3 and 4 in May.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a 72-win stretch. Last 9 games.
They've won more home games in the last 2 games than they did of all of April, didn't they?
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's this team is a gravy train with biscuit wheels right now.
Would you like some breaking baseball news from Jeff Passan?
Bring it.
League changing. Left-hander Jake Diekman and the Tampa Bay Rays are finalizing a major league deal, sources tell ESPN.
Oh.
Royals legend.
Good for them.
How do you remember the Jake Diekman era, Les?
I don't.
You know he was 0-6.
That's why I don't remember it. I choose not to remember it.
I saw Passan with sources tell ESPN. I got excited. We're gonna have some baseball news to roll out there, and Jake Diekman. All right, cool.
He was 0-6 in 2019.
Don't we have one of those now?
Pitched in 48 games, had a 4.75 ERA. Oh, that's not bad.
That's not too bad.
Hey, look, you got let down by the offense.
Sub 5 ERA out of the bullpen. I'll take that. 41 innings, 23 walks, 63 strikeouts though in 41 innings.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. He's making up for the walks by at least striking some guys out when they get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, big news there from the Rays. So
breaking it down here live for the next 2 hours right here on Sports Radio 810.
I'm just so sick and tired of us talking Royals baseball, and it always reverts to the Rays. Every time it just ends up talking about the Rays, the Rays, the Rays. Enough.
The first response I saw was that he'll be the best reliever in baseball in like a month.
And he probably will, but that's what happens when a team is 29-7.
That's right. And I enjoyed the Rays Yankees when Arozarena got hit again and got the arguing back and forth. It's great. Kyle Snyder over there yelling at the Yankees.
I love it.
Dugout. The Yankees dugout looking back and just going, bleep you. Yeah, bleep you. Bleep you. And Kyle Snyder's like, come on. Let's bring it. Once we get out there, we'll have plenty of people holding us back. Let's go. We got plenty of room to have people go and hold us back.
Let's
get out there.
We've got a full roster.
That's right.
We've got the IL guys that'll hold us back.
You're the pitch coach. You're usually the one holding the guys back.
It always amazed me when you'd have brawls or something. Somebody would go out there and they'd yell and they'd wait until 3 guys get on them. And then all of a sudden they'd start charging forward.
Yes.
Unless your name is Kyle Farnsworth.
Yeah.
Then he ran through people trying to hold him and body slam people.
Rogue Ned Odor that clocked Batista.
That was on the field, though. That kind of happened.
Yeah.
That happened really fast.
That is true.
Batista kind of had that coming.
Yeah. There was no waiting around
so
for
Odor, though. Odor kind of has that coming, too. But
yes.
So, by the way,
typically it's you are so lucky this pitching coach is between us. Me, this professional athlete who's very strong, and I am enraged. If this pitching coach who was not between us, you would get a whooping right now.
If he wasn't between us, I'd be yelling at you at least 10 feet further back.
That's right.
I did for Perfect Game. I did a clinic 3 weeks ago in Raytownish, Kansas City area, and they'd flown a bunch of guys in. Like Luis Eliseo was in, Michael Tucker was in,
nice.
Reggie Sanders was there, and Kyle Farnsworth was there. He's a bodybuilder now. Like he wasn't.
I bet he is.
Like he wasn't then. But I'm telling you what, his hamstrings were bigger than my entire body. I felt like he was like lugging me around, and he just like called me left leg or right leg. He's huge. Huge. That dude is just massive.
One of my sort of revelations in being around baseball players, not just professional athletes, but baseball players specifically, and then pitchers, being closer to them than just watching on TV, is how big some pitchers' legs are.
Well, I know that's how you guys feel about me as a whole, being in the studio here.
Yes.
You know.
But like pitchers specifically, like you see them on the mound, and but then you get closer to
they
them.
all
it's
look
like
relatively the same.
Yes, Greinke's legs are freaking huge.
Yeah.
Like like his legs are tree trunks.
Yeah, it's why he's pitched so long, not just because of his arm. I mean,
and it makes
their lower half's huge.
It makes total sense. You're pushing off. That's where a lot of your power is coming from.
They run a lot.
They run a lot. Brady Singer's legs are big.
Yeah.
Like, and I just don't think of it. So like Farnsworth's hamstrings are. Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Oh my God, that's different.
That is different.
This
is a picture of Kyle Farnsworth that I'm currently showing.
I told you,
they took Farnsworth's head and they superimposed it on a. Look at that. That does not look right. You know what it looks like?
He looks like the Thing.
No. He looks like the dude from the Umbrella Academy. The Umbrella Academy on, is it Netflix?
It's on Netflix. Renee loves it. I have not seen it.
Okay, so who's the actor from the Umbrella Academy? I gotta look it up because that is what he looks like, man. It's crazy. Umbrella Academy.
Is it a cartoonishly thick?
It's Tom
superhero?
Hopper. Tom Hopper from the Umbrella Academy is what Kyle Farnsworth looks like.
Yeah, more or less.
Look it up.
Yep.
Yeah,
people.
I think Kyle Farnsworth might somehow be wider than this dude. Look at how wide he is. Look at this.
The Farnsworth is actually competing. I mean, like legitimately competing,
crazy.
and his body fat's way low, and he is just yoked, man. He is just huge.
Yeah,
he's getting up there in age too, so he's in that upper division and just competing.
Well, you know what? Good for him. I mean, I wouldn't have fought him back then. I won't fight him now.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would even be in a position to fight him, but I will tell you this right now: I'm not going to.
I can't remember.
Not going to do it.
Right. And neither of us, none of us should. Yeah. So I asked him. I was talking about Reggie Sanders because Reggie Sanders is pretty yoked. I mean, he was out there too, but Reggie Sanders is a strong guy too. He's not bodybuilding, but he takes care of himself, and he's a big boy. He's a beast. And I asked him. I said, Farnsey, did you ever get Reggie, or did Reggie ever get you with a home run? He's like, and Farnsworth's a man of many words. He's like, no. Got him many times. And that was it. That was the end of the conversation.
No, got him many times.
Yep.
Creatine.
Well,
plates.
Regardless, man could throw some gas, wasn't afraid
Curls.
to come inside, and begged you to charge the mound.
Squats.
Can you imagine charging the mound and seeing him and then just saying, no, I'm going out to shortstop. No, I didn't mean you.
I'm charging the mound to center field.
I'm going back into the box if you want. You want to throw at me again? That's fine. I get it. You're allowed.
That would be great. That would be pretty awesome. By the way, mentioning Michael Tucker, he would have been a guy that would have had no problem with the pitch clock. I always loved that Michael Tucker, every once in a while, his feet wouldn't even move. Like there'd be a pitch that come in, and he would just keep his feet, and he would just sort of
let's go.
Swing the bat. Like, all right, let's go. Wouldn't get out of the box. Feet wouldn't move. No, I'm ready. Let's go. Next pitch. You knew he was locked in when Michael Tucker was like, feet aren't moving. Let's go. Next pitch. Then he'd get out of the box from time to time, dig in again, get more comfortable.
When he didn't feel good. But when he felt good, he'd stay in there and just wait for the strike.
Feet didn't move. Just sat there, got it right back in the same spot, and just looking at the pitcher, ready to go.
Some of the fastest hands for a long swing that I've ever seen.
Really?
Michael Tucker. I'm telling you, he could just if you watch him in BP, like, man, that swing is long. It's not super short. I know he's talented and, not bad for a guy that came up and weighed like 130 pounds. I mean, he was just a stick, but he got bigger as his career went on. But my gosh, his hands got through the zone quick. He was about 6'1", 6'2"-ish, but really lean. But man, just some pop in those wrists. Gosh, it's amazing. It's good to catch up with those guys.
Yep, that Jermaine Dye trade with Michael Tucker. Les Norman is our guest here from Breaking the Norm. Joining us, he's presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Amazing Garage Floors. Tell him Les sent you. All right, Les, 3-4 in the last 7 in the month of May, 4-5 in the last 9. These are small morsels. You take them where you can get them.
Tuna.
The Royals are back to back.
It's tuna week, tuna row.
there you go. Make it 3 in a row, and that's called a winning streak. It has happened before. I want to see some hustle. Let's jack it up a little bit. All right, I got a feeling things are going to turn around here for us. So, what are you seeing from this team? Is it just schedule is turned and they're 2-2 in the 4 games against the A's and White Sox, which would make them 4-3 when you throw in the Giants, the 3 teams they have played with sub 500 records? Is it that? Are they getting comfortable? Was it just a terrible stretch of baseball that now they're going to be playing better baseball? What do you make of what we're seeing from this team, especially the offense? Because the pitching has left a lot to be desired, but the offense certainly has I got the bats rolling.
Yeah, well, you said it all right there. I mean,
okay, we'll take a break and we'll come back.
Okay. Greinke, I think, wasn't Greinke's last start before last night the game they won 6-0? Wasn't it the shutout?
That's a great question.
I think while you guys are typing away, I think that's what it was. So besides Greinke, okay, so Greinke gave up a few runs last night, but besides him, I mean, the pitching has been miserable. I mean, the walks and the runs in lumps. I mean, to give up 12 runs to the A's. You score 8 runs against the A's, you should win every single time.
Win by 4 or 5.
Unless you give up 12. So I've noticed the offense, and just watching their pitch selection is different. Again, we've been talking about the need for them to sign Vinny, and give him the contract he deserves. He's shown that he's going to be worthy of that. And so I started really watching his at-bats intently, and nothing changes. He's never he doesn't get fooled by many pitches. He goes with pitches. He swings at pitches he should swing at. He takes pitches even if they're borderline. He's comfortable. He's confident. He just gives me that aura that he's, even as a young guy, not as a young guy age-wise, but as a young guy in MLB service time, he's a leader. You hear the way he talks to the media. I mean, he gets it. He understands the game. And so it seems like what he's always been doing, a guy like Nick Pratto is starting to do. I saw Michael Massey hit a line drive with the bases loaded the other day to the opposite field. I mean, last night I was at the game. We had the Fantasy Camp reunion game last night, which I'll just briefly talk about here in a minute. But a lot of gappers last night. Jackie Bradley Jr. had a couple doubles. Pratto had the double. Melendez had the big home run and then got another big hit for 4 RBIs. But and Dylan Cease is no slouch on the mound. I mean, he's one of the best in the American League, and they were just, even balls that were outs, they were hitting hard last night. And so it just seems like the offense is now starting to click. They're not just, I don't feel like they're just in this good stretch of good baseball. I feel like the approaches are better. I mean, how many balls were hit to the opposite field last night into the gap, or some hard singles? And being at the game, even some of their pop-ups, I mean, those were big league pop-ups. I mean, they were huge pop-ups, which mean when you hit a pop-up that high, like the thing's never coming down, check it for rain, that tells you that they were literally a millimeter to a centimeter off of hitting something really far. They're just missing it. And so up and down the lineup, that's what I feel like I saw. Salvi, of course, is getting hot. I mean, Salvi hits the sac fly and then hits a ball that's 2 inches outside and 5 inches up in the zone for a ball. 3 years ago, he's trying to pull that to the third baseman. This time, he just sneaks a single down the right field line inside the bag. So he's learned how to hit and still driving in runs. So I see this offense starting to click, not just by the results of RBIs, home runs, runs scored, but it's the pitches they're swinging at. They're going with pitches. They're staying back. They're not getting fooled up and down the line. Oh, and by the way, I saw this after the game last night. You guys will be excited about this. After the game, not including a pinch when Fermin came in, not one player was below 200 after the game last night.
Wow.
Not one. In the lineup last night, not one guy. Fermin was right at 200.
Good for him.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was Massey or not, but everybody is at or above 200, at least that was in the lineup last night.
Take that, Mendoza.
Massey was 200 on the dot.
Yep.
But 1 for 4 last night. That averages out to 250. Everybody playing at home.
That's right.
And then Jackie Bradley Jr. was at 203. I don't think that he would have. I think he would have entered last night ahead of above 200, but not by much.
Yep. So it's trending.
He went 3 for 4.
Yeah, it's trending. He had 2 doubles.
Yeah.
So it's trending in the right direction. And, it was a great night. 8 runs in the 6th inning. They just kept pouring it on. Bummer came in for the White Sox, throwing like 97 and to face Melendez, and then Melendez pocketed one off that fountain wall. And, it's really good to see. It's going to be frustrating if the pitching can't hold up, and so that's obviously the next thing that has to happen. But a very good sign. It was fun to watch.
The of anybody that has taken it at bat or plate appearance for the Royals this year, there are only 3 players that now have a batting average under 200.
It's coming,
only
man.
3.
And that's turning into the 100 at bat mark.
Yeah.
And so that's harder to do. It's easier to do when you've had 30 at bats. But now these guys that are pressing 100 at bats in, that's a little bit harder to do. So you're having to string some pretty good games consistently to start creeping upward like that.
So the 3 players that have a batting average below 200 that have taken at least 1 plate appearance this year for the Royals. So everybody listed here. Nate Eaton is batting .034. Hunter Dozier is batting .176, and Fran Milrea is .186.
Yeah,
and he was DFA'd.
Right.
Nate Eaton is a 5th outfielder, 6th outfielder maybe. Not necessarily a 4A player, just nice depth to have in your organizational depth. Hunter Dozier is, Hunter Dozier that is now a role player.
Yeah.
Which, we talked about this in the first part of the show, Les, in that, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, Hunter Dozier was a big part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And what we discussed is until he starts blocking somebody that you say, this guy should be up, what are they doing? I was going to hold off on my frustrations with Dozier because it was a little bit different, it felt like, than Ryan O'Hearn and Carlos Santana a year ago, where it was like
Santana was the guy I was thinking of.
Yeah, Pasquantino and Prado are hitting down in the minors. What's going on right now? Pasquantino is crushing the baseball. Prado is the best first baseman they've seen, maybe better than Hosmer defensively, all of that stuff. Dozier wasn't doing that until Garcia was ready to come up and play.
Mm-hmm.
And the Nicky Lopez injury, Garcia comes up. And my big question, Les, was, is Garcia the third baseman and they sprinkle in Dozier, or is Dozier the third baseman and they sprinkle in Garcia? Because I know what the previous regime would have had. You bring up a young guy, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter development. This is our team. He's coming up to help us. He's one of 26. Dozier is at third base, and this guy can mix in here and there. No, Garcia's your starting third baseman now. Since Garcia came up in the 7 games he's played, Dozier has played 2 games. He has started 2 games of the 7 and came in the 8th inning to play left field in one of the games in which Isbell got injured and hurt his hamstring. Those are the only 3 times he's been in a game since Garcia's come up. That is a good sign because that's different.
Yes.
They have brought up Garcia and said he's the third baseman, even if maybe he ends up being a utility infielder in his career. But you know what? Third best prospect in the organization. There was a chance he could have broke camp with the club. He was not necessarily hitting for a high average down in Omaha, but he was, playing well.
But he's a big league player.
Yeah. And they brought him up, and Dozier is now a reserve. And if Dozier's 1 through 26 that can come in and spell a guy at third from time to time, can he give you some depth? And, he can play outfield. He can play third. He can play first. He's not Gordon or Brett or Hosmer at those positions, but he has played them before. It's not nearly as a Dozier is the flashing red light of what's going on with this organization. And in fact, you can flip it and say Dozier might be an example of how it's going to be different moving forward.
Right. I think long gone needs to be the days of we just play guys that aren't performing just because we're paying them money. I understand.
Or there are guys like O'Hearn was Matheny's guy.
Right.
He really liked O'Hearn. And so every night he was going to be in the lineup.
It's misplaced loyalty there. So look, I understand if you're a Bryce Harper making $330 million and you're having a bad year, okay, that guy's playing every day. I invested a lot in you. I'll wait 3 years for you to come out of it, but I'm getting my money off you being on the field, because if you're signing him to that, what you're saying is that, okay, nobody else unless you're hurt is going to play your position. Mm-hmm. We're just going to try to work the other 8, or the other 7, and then your pitching staff. But Hunter Dozier's making great money, over $16 million this year and next year, but that's still not $330 million money. So sometimes it is painful to eat. Look at me, I don't own the team, but on the baseball side, sometimes you have to eat it. And if he has to become that role player, you have to move him if someone shows interest or something like that. The best players need to play. That lineup last night, I enjoyed seeing that lineup play.
Yeah. There's a little bit of excitement. There's a little bit of juice.
There was. And before the game, we had the alumni fantasy camp reunion last night, and so we had most of the alumni suites down there, which was an incredible time. Love seeing those guys. What a great brotherhood over 14, 15 years of me being a coach at fantasy camp. I love it. But seeing the brotherhood, camaraderie, the families, and then John Sherman started the night off answering questions. He's a funny dude, man. He really is a funny dude and can joke around and all that. Dennis Leonard told a story about how he got baited in with a friend of his. Say, hey, come here and sit next to me in the crown seats. And so they sat down. And his buddy didn't tell him that those were John Sherman's seats.
Amazing.
Seats.
Amazing.
And so then the usher came down and kicked him out before he realized it was Dennis Leonard. And yesterday was Leo's birthday. Happy birthday, Leo. But, it was just and Leo actually told the story. And, John was saying, it's, I kind of now don't really need those seats anymore, but I can understand, why they did that and all that. It's a great place to watch a game. But he's just a really funny guy. And for almost an hour, he stood there on a microphone and just answered questions and talked about the team, and nothing was off limits. And he posed for pictures, and he talked to kids and family for a really long time, and that's an owner that is really cool to me, that just gets involved in it, cares about the alumni, cares about the fancy campers, spends time with families. I mean, he was probably there a couple hours, and by the way, he works all day. He kind of has a job, you know, of running the team. So that was really neat. But the point of all that is I'm looking out and like, there is 30,000 people here dressed as a blue seat. There's nobody here.
Yeah.
But obviously there were some out tailgating, and the attendance was low.
It's
but
like 9 and change.
It was listed at 9.
And there was not 9,000 people at the game last night. There's no way.
Were there 9?
There might have been 9. However, as the game went on, who was there? Really, there were great fans that were there, because like as you're scrolling through social media today, I'm like, oh, there's my buddy that was there last night. Oh, he was there, she was there. I wish I'd have known, but we were out there. But they were really making great noise, and they were really supporting a team, and it seemed like there was an electric atmosphere. And I know the Royals have been stinking, and we have to talk about the negative of what's been going on. But it was really a cool atmosphere. I mean, the night was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was coolish. It was in the upper 70s and a light breeze, and that big old huge cloud was in the sky that everybody sees on social media today. But it was really neat to see a younger team just bust on whoever they were busting on with the big 8-run six, and they kept battling back until they took the big lead. So, yeah, it was a really fun night, and it is something to celebrate in a season where we've had not much.
And the one thing they've done while school is in is that they've moved the game times up a half hour. So they start at 6:40 instead of 7:10. And you're shaving a half hour already with the pitch clock. So when you would go out there at a 7:10 game, a year ago, or, I guess let's just say a year ago, because without the pitch clock, I mean, you're leaving at 10:10, 10:15, 10:20. Now with the pitch clock, and if you're going out there in a weeknight that they do it at 6:40 because of the school, and when school's out, it'll go to 7:10, but you're leaving there at 9,
Yeah.
6:40, 8:40, 2-hour game, 2:20, you're leaving there at 9 o'clock. It's not ideal to where you have the kids out there and leave at 9, but you could actually stay for most of the game and leave at 8:30.
Yeah.
Whereas if you got out there for a 7:10 game and left at 8:30, kind of sounds like a waste of money for parking, for tickets, for whatever the tokens for the outfield, for the little K, and all of that stuff, and then however much it costs for the wristband where you can do whatever you want in the carousel, and then cotton candy and whatever else is there. It's like, oh, cool, we were there for an hour and a half, and we saw an inning, and I spent $110.
No, at least.
Well, now if it's a 6:40 game and you have to leave at 8:30, you might have seen 7 innings, and it's a little bit more worth it. But yeah, I mean, but people can go and spend the money however they want to spend money, and right now it's not with the Royals because of a lot of different frustrations that are going on with this club. I'll point this out as you looked like you wanted to say
I just have
before.
a really useless thing from last night that once your points are fully done and well made.
No, you do the useless thing.
Last night, the White Sox pitching box score went from deceased to a bummer.
Well, you should have told me that was
They closed out with a guy named Graveman.
Wow.
Jack Lambert got a third of an inning. His name's not Jack, but it's the only other Jay Lambert I could think of.
Wow.
Yeah, those are some great names, and no wonder the Royals put 12 spot on them.
Yeah, exactly. The White Sox pitching staff was deceased and a bummer.
We can get a little bit more into this on the other side of the break, but I want to just throw these numbers at Les and have him chew on it.
Come on.
In the break. The 7 players, I didn't include Edward Olivares, and maybe I should, but I'm not including Edward Olivares. That's fine. But 7 players: Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, Michael Massey, MJ Melendez, Nick Pratto, Michael Garcia, and Salvador Perez. Those 7 guys. Olivares would actually help my cause or help this thing and make the numbers better, but I didn't include him because for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't put him in the category of these players. I probably should. He's still only 27, regardless. Here are the numbers. Since the calendar turned, since May, since they've returned in this homestand, they suck at home, but they've been playing better baseball. So that's 7 games that have been played. I'm just going to go through the OPS of these players in the small sample size.
Oh, I'd love a sip.
7 games there, Josh. There you go. That's him shaking
it
up his water with creatine in there. So is that Farnsworth?
Trying to get like Farnsworth over here. Yeah. Getting thick.
Bobby Witt, and these are the OPSs. Bobby Witt, 954. Pasquantino, 1.015. MJ Melendez, 952. Michael Massey, 932. Nick Prado, 1.073. Garcia, 693. And Salvi, 1.315.
Yikes.
Those are the OPSs for 7 of your 9 guys in the lineup. That doesn't include Olivares, who's playing perfectly fine. Bradley Jr. is playing center field because he has to right now for Isbell, and he's been okay.
But isn't it funny how you play differently when you know you're going to be playing there for a while? You tend to relax a little bit.
I talked about that. This is that same line of demarcation for MJ Melendez is the same day that Quatrero came out and said that he's our right fielder. He's not catching anymore. Okay, well, since then he's batting .321 and slugging .607.
There you go.
It's 7 games, but he's not catching anymore. You're the right fielder. Go to the plate as the right fielder.
Yeah, but that's 25 to 30 at bats, though. I mean, that's a good stretch.
It's MJ. It's 29 plate appearances, 28 at bats. But those 7 guys combined in the month of May, here's a slash line for those 7 guys, including Garcia's 693 OPS. The slash line is 335, 433, 564, and those 7 guys have averaged in the last 7 games a combined OPS of 997.
Wow.
No wonder they've scored 7.4 runs per game.
Nice.
In this stretch. So maybe it's starting to turn around. Could be a hot stretch.
The offense
guys coming up.
The offense.
Yeah, that's all I'm talking about. The offense.
Absolutely.
We can talk about the pitching that's there, but they
We don't have to though.
Yeah,
I would say we can just talk about the hitting.
But in the month of May, they're +5. They're 3-4 in the record, but they're +5 in run differential.
Yeah.
In the month, that's better than their -70.
It's good baseball, man.
That's my quick math. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I'll have less chew on those numbers and see if there's anything to it than just, hey, it's contagious, which it could be. And also my theory on Brady Singer. We'll get his thoughts on that. We'll come back with more Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio.
Royals here, and then my theory on Brady Singer. But before we do that, Monty, Royals Hall of Famer, was walking by. A man,
who that was?
Yeah, a man with 3 holes in one in his hole-in-ones. Holes
in one.
3 holes in one in his golf career.
That's a tough one to pluralize.
I know, right?
3 holes in one.
3 holes in one. Is it RBIs or RSBIs?
I know there's at least 2 fills. I know that.
That's right. And those fills own something. There's a possessive part of it. Right. But Monty with 3 hole-in-ones and holes in one. And yesterday,
gosh, this makes me mad and so happy at the same time.
Jamie Bluma got his first.
Gosh, Bluma, he hates golf.
Yeah.
He doesn't hate it, but he's not a golfer.
And then he shows up at the reunion
Last night.
Buys everybody drinks. He's like, drinks on me.
No.
It was an open bar, but
Yes.
he did say, drinks on me. Everybody have whatever you want.
I'm seriously, I'm happy for him because Jamie does so much for charity events. He's got this Red, White, and Bluma, nonprofit, raises money for military vets, and I don't know many people that do more for alumni players that do more for people than Jamie Bluma.
I don't think I've ever been to a charity golf tournament that we broadcasted from or did something with that Bluma wasn't playing in.
Or involved in.
That's absolutely true. That is 100% true.
He's one of the most giving dudes ever. So on that front, I'm happy, and you deserve it, Jamie. On the other front, from a guy that plays golf a lot, loves the game, trying to get better at the game, and I've only been close once and never have won, and I actually care. And he gets the hole-in-one. I'm a jealous, sad man.
Well, you take a hole-in-one no matter what. I mean, a hole-in-one, no matter how it happens. But I do wonder, like, the different experience because they couldn't see it. So he knew he hit it well, and he thought, well, it's hole high, and maybe it's in a sprinkler head or something. But
and he led off that hole. He golfed first. He's like, I think that went in the hole.
Yeah, and they're like, did it go in the hole?
So he had to wait for the other 3 people to go.
That's right.
And then they videoed him walking up and looking in the hole, pulling it up. It's on social media.
Because they didn't know for sure it went in the hole. So it wasn't one of those, it went and everybody loses their mind. It's like,
no, for sure, because it was Jamie.
So it's a delayed reaction and sort of a build up to, it's almost like at that point, it would be such a letdown if it's not in there.
Somebody else.
Oh, it came so close. Oh, so close.
Somebody else in his group should have gone, I think mine just went in. All right, we'll go. Yeah, we'll go look. No, we'll go. Everybody else go first. Everybody go ahead. Because then at that point, at least it's contested.
Yeah.
You at least take it from Bluma.
So last night, Bluma comes in just like 5 minutes later than when we got started on the meeting before we ate and enjoyed the game at the reunion, Fantasy Camp reunion last night. So John Sherman's on the mic, and he's answering questions. And then someone raises their hand for a question. So John points to this person and says,
"Who was it that did that raised their hand?" Bluma told the story this morning.
I'm trying to think of who someone raised their hand, and John Sherman thinks a question's coming. Says, "Who in here had a hole-in-one today?" And for that quick moment, and I had heard about it like 2 minutes before that, but I'm looking at everybody, and everybody's looking around. And because Bluma's standing over there by the door because he just walked in, he doesn't want to disrupt anything, and all of a sudden he takes his hat off and raises his hand, and you hear this collective, "No way!" Nobody believed it, and then he got a big round of applause. It was great.
Yeah, and they let him keep the Penn flag.
That's
there,
cool.
which is pretty cool.
I think there's a rumor that he might have purposely stayed out of the clubhouse at the end.
Is that right?
Based on what you're supposed to do.
I know. No, he said that he still may have I guess he left his credit card with St. John yesterday because he was supposed to.
Oh, God.
Because he was supposed
That's
to.
like bottom 5 people I would give my credit card to.
Well, because St. John was there working the event, and so it's like, it's my job to buy rounds for the golfers. I got to go to this reunion thing.
This show just turned into a fundraiser for Jamie.
Yeah.
Can you close this out, Steven? He told us, he's like, I think I may have a tab still there. I got to go. I got to go.
Might want to check on that
because he had to then jet. He had to go to the reunion there with the fantasy camp. So yeah, what a great story.
I hope he's got fraud protection or something on that card.
Have you ever witnessed one?
Yes, on a hole next to us.
Okay. Not with your group though.
No, not with my group. No, that would have been cool, but no, never. On a hole next to us, and they were jumping around, and I was really happy and come to the realization that I'm never going to get one. Yep.
So what do you make of the 7 players in the lineup that we talked about? Witt, Vinny, MJ, Massey, Prado, Garcia, Salvi. In the month of May, they have combined for an OPS of 997, 7.4 runs per game.
Yeah. And again, this isn't just a game you're talking about. You're talking about a stretch, and I feel like the Royals now offensively have found their lineup. It was an electric lineup. I think that you have to have Vinny and Prado in there together. I would have Garcia and Witt Jr. play 3, 4, 5 games, short and third, and then switch for 3, 4, 5 games. Let them both play a little bit back and forth. Give them some experience at both, and just check it out. Even if they want to leave it, that's fine. I like the way they ordered the lineup. I like the defensive side of it. I just think it was a lineup that clicked. There was electricity in there. I think with runners, they were like 6 for 14 with runners in scoring position last night or something like that. I think I might have seen
6
that.
6 for 14. Yep.
6 for 14, yeah.
So, I mean, I just feel like after a while when you're experimenting, and trust me, I played for the notoriously shifty, crafty Bob Boone with his 158 different lineups in 162 games. When you find something, you stick with it. And I think they finally found something. I mean, they feed off of each other. And it seems like last night, even, Massey having a tough start to the season, and Jackie Bradley, he doesn't play every day, and that's hard to do. But when you know you're going to be in there, you tend to lock in a little bit. He hit the high chopper down the first base line, but the infield was drawn in, so he was able to get a double out of that. And good things happen when things are going well like that. And so, I just saw a lineup that I really liked, and they're feeding off each other, and there's no hole in a lineup, even though it's been a rough season, and I think you need to stick with that. So, when this guy's doing well, I'm locked in. I want to do well. I'm willing to bunt a guy over. I'm willing to hit a ball to second base when there's a runner at third. And when you stay within yourself like that, all of a sudden your mechanics get better, and now you're driving balls into the gap, and you're staying inside the ball, and you're swinging at pitches. You're not panicking, because we saw Melendez do that a lot in the first part of the year. He was striking out so much. And now you're taking close pitches like Vinny's been doing, like we talked about all year. And so many good things can happen when you relax and play. And if you know you've got a good lineup that gives you a chance every night, no matter what the pitching's going to do, you're going to put 7, 8, 9, 10 runs up, then you stick with that.
Bobby Witt, very quietly, is pacing what he's done this year, even though batting .240, getting on base at .279.
That's been creeping upward, though.
It has. But if you're looking at the power and the development there, he is pacing for, and the power speed combination, over 162, he would have 28 home runs and 46 stolen bases.
I'd take that.
From what he's done so far, if you played 162, you're looking at a guy who's a 30-40.
Yeah. And now
almost 30-50.
Those 2 bases he stole last night, it wasn't even close.
Not even close.
It wasn't even close.
He was
on his way up from pushing up the bag by the time the throw was
He's going to steal every time with Grandal back there.
Yeah.
And
most other catchers.
He's got 2 already, but it's only 10 on the season, so it's not like he's got, Esteury Ruiz, I should say, has like 17 stolen bases. He's leading the majors, but I think Bobby Witt might be able to catch him in these next 3 games if he's getting on base. I got to give you, at least get your thoughts on my theory around Brady Singer. Just a question. All right, I don't know that it's a theory, because I'm not saying that this is the case. But he goes into arbitration in the offseason. The Royals don't settle. Dayton Moore always settled. I mean, one arbitration case that they went to. The Rays go to arbitration all the time. Brady Singer, Royals, they go to arbitration. Brady Singer loses. In those cases, the Royals are presenting their side as to why he doesn't deserve the money. He's presenting why he does deserve the money. So the Royals are pointing out negatives in his game as to, well, he doesn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't do that. This is why he doesn't deserve the extra.
There are no cheerleaders in arbitration.
Yeah, the extra $300,000 is what it came down to. And he is a guy that has been talked about on the mound between the ears, that sometimes it can unravel. That sometimes he can start to lose the focus and his anger or whatever's going on. It's an inning here or there that he just can't stop melting. Maybe it's yelling at the rain because of a rain delay. And I wonder if there's a little bit of his start to the season when he's got 7 outings and he's got an 8.5 ERA, right? 8.8 ERA. 5 of his 7 outings, he's given up 5 or more runs. I don't know, is there anything to the offseason where Singer and the organization went back and forth and the organization said, here's all the things that you suck at and why, you don't deserve an extra $300,000? And he's saying, I'm asking for $300,000 more than what you guys are offering. Let's meet in the middle, or go, no, we're going to take you to arbitration because we think you're not good enough. I mean, is it a guy like Brady Singer that maybe isn't built for that sort of off, or maybe that motivation or that non-backing from the organization? Maybe he felt like that it's bleeding over into this year to where it's just not the same guy last year that was trying to prove it. And I'm going to go into this offseason. I'm here. I'm going to be a guy that's an ace. And then he goes in and the organization goes, no, we're not going to give you that. We don't think you're that good. We don't think you're good enough for that. So,
well, if you think about it, and I think there's a lot of credence to that, because if you think about in high school, there's a pretty good chance he was never said anything negative about because he dominated. And then at the University of Florida, he was pretty good.
Yeah. Talked about being the number 1 overall pick.
No, yeah, absolutely. And, I don't think it's not about the money. I mean, you go to arbitration, because you want to win, and it's you and your agent and all that.
He wasn't asking for $5 million more. Right, it was $300,000 more than what the Royals
absolutely, and that's what you and your agent do.
Yeah,
it's not what you do. And so maybe it's the first time that he heard something bad about himself.
Well, I know,
and sometimes that can get in your head. I mean, I've told the story a million times. I'll just go briefly. The whole '99 season, where went off in camp, was told you got to do this. I go above and beyond it. Was told I made the team. The next day they take Scott Pose. I don't see another day in the big leagues the rest of the year. Was blatantly lied to about it. So instead of going down to AAA and being tough mentally, I went like 0 for my first 33.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I'm an 0 for 33 hitter. I was a better hitter than that. I had good minor league numbers my whole career. It was between my ears. I was moping, and it was unfair. Instead of me realizing, look, I've been gifted to play baseball, and I'm doing it for a living and making money. That's on me. Yeah. That's my fault. What they did's on them, and what I earned, but I could have run with it and been better and more mature about it. So I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but what you're saying, Jason, is I think it makes a lot of sense that, they don't like me, or they don't think I'm worth it, or maybe for the first time someone hears criticism that they're not used to, and it messes with their head. And that could be a possibility, because back when everybody was whining and complaining like we should have been because the guy wouldn't throw a changeup, I mean, he deserved all that because he wouldn't throw a changeup. But they were still high on him. They weren't arbitration hammering him. They were just saying, throw a changeup. You need to learn how to throw a changeup. And there was that wrestle of control where I'm the one on the mound. Yeah, you told me to throw 15 changeups, so I'm going to throw 4. It was that control thing. But they still didn't tell him, well, these are the reasons why you stink. In arbitration, that onion's peeled back, man. Like I just said, there's no cheerleaders in arbitration. Yeah. And so maybe it's part of that and part of the disappointment that he was trying to live up to what he already did. Oh, I'm going to show them because now they're telling me that I'm not worth it. Then you go out and now you're proving them right. That's tough to deal.
If you didn't like the money in arbitration last year, 8.9 ERA right now, good luck at that point. But even last year when it was the criticism, it was because you're not throwing a changeup. You've got all of these great things. We need you to throw a changeup. Okay, we're going to send you down the minor leagues because you're going to work on a changeup. And Dayton on the show saying, look, you may never come back up here. So essentially, you need to listen to what we're saying to you. It's not that you're not good enough. We're telling you how good you are and how good you can be.
Yes, what it's going to be like if you'll just listen.
If you listen to us, you can be amazing. You've got all of these things. If you add this, oh my goodness, you can be unstoppable. Then he does that, and he comes up and he pitches phenomenally. And it's like, okay, I'm doing what they want me to do. I'm pitching at that level. Awesome.
Dealing.
Let's go get the money. And the Royals are like, you suck. And not that, and it's not like that's the end of the road where, okay, you went to arbitration, this player is never going to play for you. Like, I get it. Dayton never went to arbitration. And part of it was, but on the back end, he's going to pay us back, which never happened.
Right.
Never happened.
Right.
I do wonder, like, certain players, like, is it worth $300,000 if Brady Singer isn't necessarily between the ears a guy that could handle all the negative criticism that's there and saying, no, you're not worth the extra $350,000 this year. And now go out there and be an ace.
That's not the Royals' fault that's how arbitration works.
Yeah.
It's just how it works. It's not a major league team's fault. Like in my situation, my job was to go down and say, look, it stinks, it's wrong, but I've got to go play. this is where I am. I've got no control where they put me, so I need to go here and be a good teammate in AAA. I got to do my thing, do my best, put that behind me, and move forward. I did not do a good job of doing that. So it's up to Brady Singer whether it's between the ears or not.
Yeah,
but it's a good theory, Jason. It really is.
I think also, the World Baseball Classic. So it could be a lot of things that are going into his
early on
start.
Early on, yes,
Yeah.
but now we've had enough time, and he's not injured. Now you got to be beyond that too.
And he's had some control issues with that. Les Norman breaking the norm. Les, you're the man as always. Appreciate the time, brother. We'll talk next week.
2 in a row.
Yeah.
3 in a row next week. 5 in a row. 7 in a row.
They're gonna get one tonight.
I felt good about double-digit wins. I thought that's a big milestone that we've achieved here. So
they're winning tonight.
I think they're going to be above 500 starting 2 games ago, between then and when you're on with us next week.
Well, that's convoluted, but I think I got it.
And I'm not sure I believe it, but I said it.
Yeah,
I said it on the radio.
Did. Not above 500
this lineup
at any
stays
point
this way,
year.
man. I'm telling you, it can happen. Just need a little help on the bump.
Not above 500 with 10-26 to them eventually getting above 500.
No. I'm not even saying 500 in the next week. I'm saying you give me 2 games up, and I think we can do some funky math.
Very good. We'll see. Les Norman, Breaking the Norm, presented by TruckMovers.com, First Federal Bank of Kansas City, and Amazing Garage Floors. Tell them Les sent you. Les, you're the man as always. Appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
Absolutely. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour. Todd Lebo joins us at 1 o'clock. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
let's give something away.
Whoa, yeah, let's do it.
Always in a good mood when we're hanging out with Les Norman. Let's give something away. NHRA Nationals drag racing fans, if you want to score some free tickets to the big race this summer, Heartland Park Motorsports Park in Topeka. Heartland Park Motorsports Park in Topeka. Got it right. As you listen to this show all week long, we are going to be giving away a pair of tickets to the Menards NHRA Nationals, along with $50 to Johnny's Tavern. 10 locations, Kansas City, Lawrence, and Topeka. And you get a great discount for the big race going to heartlandmotorsports.us. Type in the promo code 810. You get 20% off by using promo code 810. So listening all week, gave a pair away yesterday. Let's go ahead and give a pair away today with the Heartland Motorsports Park House of Speed. The NHRA Nationals drag racing going on in Topeka. 913-381-0810. Caller, I don't know, you just want to do caller number 8 or something?
I pitched it to Mick yesterday, and he said he'd 8 or 10. Let's just do 7. The Royals scored 12 runs yesterday.
Les Norman wore number 16 and 25.
Wow.
So, I mean, that comes to 41. So
I think caller number 41.
Mick Schaefer with 41.
Oh, that's the one.
Yep.
Sorry, Drake. You have to answer a lot of phones.
You know what? 2 plus 5 is 7, and the first number of 16 is 1. Let's do 7 plus 1. Let's do caller number 8.
You know what? Let me do this instead. Okay, that one's stupid. But the White Sox scored 5 runs last night, and the Royals scored 12. Now, 5 plus 2, of course, is 7.
Yeah.
Then there's a 1 left over. Carry the 1. It's 8. Let's do caller number 8.
Caller number 8 sounds like the plan. 913-381-0810. Caller number 8 will give away the pair of tickets and $50 to Johnny's Tavern when you're down there in Topeka. Doesn't have to be used at the one in Topeka, but just, you know, it makes sense. Go down there, get some food, get some beverages, and enjoy yourself, and then go check out the NHRA Nationals with drag racing at Heartland Park Motor Sports Park in Topeka.
I haven't been to any of the drag racing events in person. I remember watching them on TV back. I imagine they're still televised on the ESPN2 or whatever. But it was like a real building block of like a weekend morning sports watching experience. Little morning cartoons into whatever's on ESPN2. But I have to imagine that being there in person to see those cars and maybe even more impressively hear those cars has to be a blast.
I realized something yesterday. But finally. But my children, when I get them and bring them home from school, because I get to do pickup, which is great, come home from school and have certain things on a checklist that they have to do before they can do some other things, right? Or go outside or play with toys or even watch a device. And I was thinking about it yesterday, and I'm like, they come home and they're like, what they want to do after they finish some of their school stuff is like, hey, can you put it on Disney Plus and watch like my daughter's into Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
Ooh.
There's a girl Spidey.
Yeah.
Ghost Spidey, which is great. The girls out there.
Spider-Verse, that movie that was fantastic.
Right. But I was thinking, like, they have lost the experience of racing home from school to watch, like, Animaniacs or Darkwing Duck or the different cartoons or children's after-school shows that would be on because they knew the kids were getting out of school. So you would go home and you would turn it on and you would watch that. Now it's like you go home and put it on Disney Plus and watch whatever you want, or Netflix or anything
also
else.
Lost the experience of missing an episode.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, bad news. You don't know what happened that week. We've moved on.
One of my favorite Animaniacs lines. If at first you don't succeed, blame it on your parents. I did.
So do your kids.
Hey guys, our friends over at Regain are offering a big discount on their signature state-of-the-art hair restoration package. Patients report outstanding results after just one treatment. The providers at Regain extract life-giving protein growth factors from your blood and use them to reactivate dormant hair follicles. Got a dad? Get him something he wants for Father's Day. 4 treatments, virtually pain-free. Call them at 913-291-8555 for all the details. Just a heads up, Regain Functional Medicine and Aesthetics is moving. Find their new space in Leawood Fountain Plaza, same building, just 1 floor up in Suite 210.
Bickmer Electric will get you up to code for your voltage load. Bickmer Electric, we're gonna wire it right and hook you up tonight. Bickmer Electric.
If you're tired of going to the same old every night or weekend, I have just your answer. Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon. Whether you're looking for a fun and safe atmosphere to take your family for dinner or a night out drinking with friends, this is the place to be. Maybe you've seen them on diners, drive-ins, and dives. With hand-tossed New York-style pizza with fat soles and giant made-from-scratch biscuit sandwiches from Denver Biscuit Company, there's no surprise why. Atomic Cowboy Sports Saloon off 42nd in Pennsylvania in Westport. And check them out online at atomiccowboy.net.
WHB Kansas City.
20 years and running.
That's Todd Liabo.
Kansas City.
I hate Lee, though.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, The Zone, presented by Google Fiber. NFL Network right now showing the wild card game between the Jags and the Chargers. The Chargers are up 24-0 right now. 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. A fellow by the name of Drew Tranquill has an interception, has I believe a pass defense, fumble recovery. He's having himself a really good game. I'll say this:
what's he gonna do the next week?
If this is the last game he plays this year, I'd like to see him in a Chiefs uniform next year.
Bring him on, huh?
That's really bold.
I'd like to see. You know what? I think his next game's going to be at Arrowhead.
Well,
I think Drew Tranquill watching this game, his next game's going to be at Arrowhead Stadium.
Do you think the Chiefs are going to open the season at Arrowhead?
The Jags right now are up 24-0. Just turned the ball over, 3rd and 10. So I'm going to go ahead and just hop on the Chargers live line. I mean, they might be minus 21 or something at this point.
Right.
Oh, they just picked him off again.
Another interception.
Gotta hammer that.
Asante Samuel. Oh my goodness, this is getting out of hand.
I might just go get the Chargers money line before it adjusts.
You know what? The Jags are frauds. You know,
super
you know what they're like? They're like Adam Duvall. Or excuse me, no, I meant David. David Duvall. David Duvall when he was number 1 in the world. Like David Duvall frauds.
They should bring Urban Meyer back.
He got vertigo though.
I know. That's true.
Did the Chargers get vertigo and not be able to play anymore?
Well, they got a little too high for their britches.
They must have.
And came back to earth pretty
quickly. Are you
quickly.
excited about the 7-week schedule reveal that's going to happen? It's been going for days, and we're going to finally get this thing figured out.
I'm telling you, in 2 years, it's gonna be in like, I think I went Lincoln, Nebraska last time. Another city that the NFL could take over for a couple of weeks.
Well, I was confused because earlier in the day yesterday it was like they may not be ready, and then later in the day it was like the schedule has this many nationally televised there's different teams, and it's like the most. Like, so how do we know that yet if they don't have the schedule ready? Which is it? Are they not ready?
It is funny to
it's
me.
Ready now?
Drama. We've been tracking this for years, and they just don't seem to be able to say exactly what day it's going to be until just about that time.
Yeah, May 11th. Thursday night?
I don't get it. Now
they're still doing it Thursday night,
yeah,
right?
Yep. We're going to still get some stuff tomorrow, some international games.
Yeah.
And
so we'll get the date for when they play the Bears?
Yes. And Paige back there, she's our video girl. She's from Chicago. And she was really been asking for like all year, what the tickets are going to sell, how it's going to cost. I said, you're not going to Germany. She said, no, they're not. I said, they are going to Germany to play the Bears. I said, if you want to go to a Bears game, go to Soldier Field, walk right in. It's all fine.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Unless look, if we send Paige to Germany, I feel like just give her a camera and a ticket, and I feel like we'd get some great content out of that.
Could do it. I don't know. I guess there's probably a 2% chance it's the Lions, but it feels like 99% Bears since the German newspaper reported it last week.
Well, that's 101% now, Lebo. So what's
you tell me about?
Well, and the other half is mental, is what it is. She's from Chicago. Is she buying a Connor Bedard jersey already?
You managed to find one thing about the NHL that has me bothered. It's just that there's a lot of unfun things from the Chicago franchise. Meanwhile, the Arizona Coyotes were dinged a first-round pick for improper workouts.
That's right. Another one.
Are they
somebody
working
else
out in a junior high gym since they play in
where
a
they
college
live.
gym?
Yeah.
Another franchise was Dr. First Rounder for tampering or something like that. And Blackhawks are like, #1 pick, baby.
#1
Here's
pick.
Connor Bedard. Come on down. Maybe the best prospect since Sid the Kid.
And if you want to get your best lines on Blackhawks betting futures, just Google Chicago Blackhawks cover up is what I would go ahead and Google.
Because you're going to cover.
Because they're going to cover up those lines. Yeah, just Google it.
That is exactly right. So maybe she's excited about Connor Bedard. That was a big deal last night.
I don't hope
we are going to get this Chiefs schedule, though, and that'll be fun. This is an exciting time. I mean, it's people love the Chiefs. They want to go to games. They have a great home schedule this year.
They do.
And it's always fun to go on the road to see where they play, too. So.
And that Thursday night will be a real Thursday night Super Bowl champion. You were there in 2020, right? When there was like 7,000 fans, 8,000 fans?
I couldn't be there. We couldn't even go.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
I
fans
didn't
could
remember
go,
that part of it.
media couldn't go.
Okay.
And I had an opportunity that day.
What was the attendance? It was like 15?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to go that day as a fan, and I'm like, and it was so weird. It was, remember that was Andy Reid's fogged up face mask.
Right.
Wow.
September, and it was cold and rainy. I'm like, I'm not going out there for that.
Yeah.
So I sat at home all those games that year and just got on the Zoom after the games.
Yeah.
Because the media could not be there.
Yeah, I totally forgot that about not being there and everything. I knew the stuff was on the Zoom, but I guess it would make sense if it's all on Zoom. Why do you need to be there?
There was like I think they allowed maybe 5 or 6 media people to be there, and radios were not part of it.
Because I guess you'd have the full reporter with the referees
to really
and
be
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
Other than that, you could look at the sideline and not, because I spend a lot of time in the press box with my binoculars, looking at the sideline to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Case in point. When the Jags, they're going to come back and win this game. Spoiler alert.
Whoa!
They came to Kansas City the next week.
I'll take that.
There was an
action.
injury to the quarterback at one point in this game.
What?
So there was a lot of action on the sideline. So I was missed some action on the field because I was watching the sideline, and that's the one thing that if you're just sitting at home on the Zoom, you're at the mercy of what they show on TV. And I think these networks do a good job of that, but you can't do it all.
Yeah.
Because the game moves quickly. It's a fast-paced game, and so you don't see it all. But, yeah, I did not go to a game that 2020 year.
And they had the odd sort of ring ceremony, flag raising before the season even started because they couldn't have all the fans there. So this would be a traditional Super Bowl champions Thursday night. There's the banner. You're celebrating the Super Bowl champions, and you get a packed Arrowhead Stadium with the season ticket holders that have had season tickets for so long that have put in the sweat equity, the actual equity to be there that night. I know that was a big part of it with, season ticket holders going, I've been a season ticket for 30 years.
And I don't
and
get
now this is the game I want to go to.
Earlier it was about a week before, they had a kind of a deal that you could go to that was very socially
very spread out,
distanced and all that.
They had the players with
last
the rings
year,
and stuff.
the Rams fell on their face when they got their rings, right? The Bills went out there and beat them. I remember that was the big Monday night game. I don't remember what Tampa did, but I remember we all know the Chiefs went and ruined the Patriots' ring ceremony when they went up there, and Kareem Hunt went crazy.
Who do you want it to be? I think it's Eagles or Bengals, and I think the NFL very rarely has a chance of having a Super Bowl rematch the first game that next time. I'm guessing they take advantage of the rare opportunity of having, hey, this was an amazing Super Bowl, came down to the wire. Juju isn't there to get held in this game. Let's see what I think it'll be the Eagles on that Thursday night.
Could be, although if you look at the conspiracy theories online, and I don't know if they're real or fake posts from Donna Kelsey's Facebook, she says it's week 2 for the Eagles. But
I have a hot take. I think, based off what she said about the international games, I think that Donna, who is flawless and perfect, but I think she might be extrapolating what's already out there and just sort of consolidating it. Yeah. But this is her life now, that she is
got
all caps Donna Kelsey.
Who do you want it to
She's
be?
hashtag sources now.
If you had
I think
your
the
choice.
Eagles would be great.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't have that opportunity.
I want Eagles, Bengals, or Bills. I think is those would be the three, right?
Here's the deal. Not the Bills anymore. Have they just fallen off?
Yeah.
Who are the Bills even?
I wouldn't hate getting the Bengals game out of the way, if I'm being that just hit me, but it would be a lot. It would be a lot of ramping up for that game.
Yes,
they do
but that's
play
fine.
the Bengals late often.
Yes,
that's how it goes.
I am in agreement with Josh. Eagles or Bengals Eagles or Bengals is what I would go with. I think they go Eagles because of the Super Bowl rematch and the build up to it. I would prefer Bengals that opening night. Get it out of the way, get a win, open the season. Not assuming a win, but ready to go. Andy Reid's teams typically are pretty awesome early in the season. The Bengals have not been the last couple of years in the way they start. Get out of the way, get it rolling, beat them, be 1-0, and then play the Eagles the next week, apparently, as Donna Kelsey would be in town.
They'll, I was looking through. They have, there's a couple other things going. You got to kind of look at the Royals schedule too, right? But the Royals are supposed to be home on the 7th, okay? And it's an afternoon game because it's a Thursday. But I don't know what they'll do there. I think that thing may have to go to a double header the day before because when they've had events there, check the schedule, Briscoe. I'm pretty sure they're home against the White Sox maybe that day, and I think it's already an afternoon game. When U2 came a few years ago to Arrowhead events, and
2:10 on a Thursday against the White Sox.
So there's no chance you can play a baseball game then, even with the pitch clock, because Arrowhead the thing starts early.
Yep.
So I'm guessing that thing's going to get
I'm seeing
moved
1:10.
off. Yeah, you're probably getting East Coast time.
Why is that on East Coast time? I'm on Central. Yeah, these are all East. Why is that on East Coast time?
But it's 1:10. So when U2 came to town, they moved the Royals game to like 11 a.m. or something.
2:10 sounded weird.
Yeah.
To make sure that the thing was over for the U2 crowd to come in.
Yeah.
Listen, the U2 crowd ain't the Arrowhead.
They're not tailgating quite the same way.
Not like this. So I don't think there's a way they can have both of those events on that day there. So I could see that moving. We know that I think the Sunday or the 18th. What day is the 18th of September? That's Beyonce.
Monday.
So there will be no Monday night game there. I would expect that weekend for them to be out of town because I don't think Beyonce is throwing the stage up in a couple hours. I'm guessing this will be a show.
Point. Yeah.
It's going to be some stuff. So
the Royals are home, but that's not going to matter because that ain't Arrowhead Stadium. That's not
No.
the same. That's also a 2:10 game. It's 1:10.
I think they can. I
Monday.
can see that moving to noon just to be safe.
You know what they should do? So the assumption is that they're going to be playing the Bears in Germany, but what if they played the Lions in Germany and they played the Bears on that Thursday, and therefore they play the White Sox in
Just
the
get it all
afternoon
done.
and the Bears that night,
A
and
Windy
bring
City.
everybody from Chicago? Two Phils can show up,
All of them.
which is a Chicago horse. They can do all of that stuff. It'd
So
be
if
great.
that's the 7th. So if she's saying, if Donna Kelsey's saying week 2, that would be the 17th, right? I don't think there's going to be an Arrowhead game. There could be.
Here's my.
There could be.
It'd be the 17th.
Yeah.
I'm in the Beyonce tour lineup right now, and as far as I can tell, on the Renaissance World Tour, the only back-to-back she's doing is from the same location. Yeah, and that there's a good chunk of time between the two, which makes sense. She's not a starving artist trying to tour from one to another.
But she's on Monday the 18th at
Yeah,
Arrowhead,
that's
right?
a Monday night.
Okay, so would they play a home game on Sunday the 17th and then
play the
Beyonce?
18th if they can
Her
turn the
previous
stadium.
show is in Seattle on the 13th. I imagine it's not a 5-day setup, but I wonder if it's a 2-day setup.
I remember when I was a food vendor at the Royals games, and I think this was '88. Pink Floyd was coming to Arrowhead, and for like 3 days, walking from Lot D to the tunnel to go Vend, they were putting up the big to-do there. Now they're probably better at that now. I don't know, but I could see them not wanting to have a football game. It doesn't sound to me like the Eagles would be a nooner either.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
that's every hour
Yeah, they
counts when you're setting up a stage for something
They ain't
like that.
setting up a Eagles Chiefs noon.
We
game.
might be
The
getting a
Royals are
little
gone?
Chiefs Broncos week
The
2.
Royals are gone the 17th or here.
The Royals are home 17th.
They are.
against the Astros. That's a 1:10 game.
I'm putting the Chiefs on the road on the 17th.
It's weird that when we're looking at the Royals schedule and then you got to balance that with the concerts at Arrowhead Stadium. It's weird that the two teams kind of want to split away from each other from Truman's.
It seems
it's
to me
odd
like
that they
ever
would want to do
since
that.
This announcement by the Royals that they're looking to move
Yeah.
elsewhere. There's been about 8 concerts added. I mean, they've always done not always. The last 10 years or so, they've usually done 1 or 2. This is the busiest year they've ever had at Arrowhead. I think there are 8 this year.
Wow.
I think it's Ed Sheeran, Luke Combs, Billy Joel, and Stevie Nicks. The one Andy Reid announced.
Andy Reid, that's right. Yeah.
There's 2 Taylor Swifts.
Beyonce.
There's Beyonce, and there could be another. We watched all these commercials. When
Yeah,
you're
right,
at Arrowhead
right.
at the games last year, you saw these all the time. You'd see them go through. I think there's 7 or 8.
Yeah, they would like to have autonomy with the dates there and not have to worry about somebody else in the parking lot and what may take place that night and other nights and day games. And
And I'm
got to
pretty
move
sure
a Chiefs
Monster
schedule.
Jam is coming. Monster Jam's always
got
there.
that too.
So that's coming up.
Yeah. So how was your experience, Lebo, this past weekend? I know you won on the race, so good for you.
I did win on the race.
Jerk. But did you schmooze and hang out with rub elbows with Patrick Mahomes and Brittany and
We did not
the
do
stars?
that.
Okay.
We had a great time. There was 8 of us, and it was all of us good friends. 4 couples, and we got the full kind of Louisville, kind of Kentucky experience. We stayed at the Galt House right down on the river, which is like the official Derby hotel. So we got to. We walked in on Thursday, and there's people there with trays of some sort of drink when you're checking in. I guess this is starting. Okay.
Yeah.
And
it's where the stars stay at
and then
the Galt
we
House.
just walked up to the 3rd floor, and everyone had a booth set up, so with T-shirts and flowers and hats and all this kind of weird stuff. So we got going pretty good there. We did bourbon tours on Friday. So there was a little bit of a drive. We went to Maker's Mark, which is about an hour away. Bardstown is where
Bardstown.
all the stuff is in and around. And then we went to
A lot of murder conspiracies in Bardstown. You
Are
want to
there?
go check that out? There's a lot of documentaries about some people randomly dying and being
Did
murdered.
you do that? I learned about the Heaven Hill 1996 fire, and we went there. Google that. You want some YouTube video of, 100,000 barrels of whiskey in oak casks on fire that burned for days? It's pretty flammable stuff going down.
Sounds
there.
like it, yeah.
They have rebuilt, and so they have a lot of brands there. So we saw 2 different kind of Maker's Mark.
go to Jim
is
Beam?
Very old school. It's like idyllic farm stuff.
Yeah.
And they hand print the labels, and human beings dipping every one of those bottles with the wax on top.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And you could buy a bottle, and some people in our group bought a bottle, got to dip their own. You could do that.
Nice.
We went past Jim Beam. It was just 2 tours on this day. But with the Heaven Hill, they had 100 brands or something. So, and they told us all about how they build the rick houses where the barrels are. We learned a lot of stuff. So that was really cool. And then Derby Day was just awesome. The weather was good. It didn't rain till after the race, and we were already in the shuttle on the way back to the hotel then. And have you seen the video that's gone viral the last few days of a pretty good fist fight with fancy clothes on?
I have not.
All right. Well, if you Google that quickly, you'll see there's a guy with a bloody eye. It is like, and then a lady with a red or yellow dress goes in and starts kicking and hitting another guy.
Wow. Which one were you?
We'll watch this
I
on the
wasn't there,
break.
but so at one point, I don't know, like the 7th race, we had walked down. We wanted to kind of be down low to watch a race. And when that race was over, we'd met one of my friends had a friend, and we met down. We talked to him. Hey, how you doing? You guys having fun? You know,
God!
Yeah, you see this guy's face?
Yeah.
He lost, I'm assuming?
So
I'm worried if he lost an eye.
As we're walking back to our seats, then we see a kerfuffle. I don't think it was this one because this one went off into the seats, and I'm like, well, you people have suits on and dresses. I might as well
You're
be
wearing a top hat and a bow tie. What are you doing trying to bow up to somebody?
300 at Arrowhead, man. I'm up here. It was crazy. Wait till the end. Did you see the lady start punching?
No, I just
down.
restarted
It's
it.
not safe
Volume's
for
off. Volume's off.
But so
Here, Jason, you want to just live react? We live reacted to Kyle Farnsworth's legs earlier. So
is this what he's talking about?
Yeah, this is a fight.
This was the fight. Look
at that!
Oh my
dude.
goodness!
That's what I'm saying. That
they would stop the fight. The cut man would come over. The ref would say, "You can't see out of that. How many fingers am I holding up?"
In the first level clubhouse, who's down there?
Oh, and then I love that the fight gets broken up and people just start walking by.
Wait for the lady in the yellow to start kicking.
Yeah, see, right now the lady in the yellow is holding people back. We've got some ladies in big hats here, kind of holding people off.
And she doesn't like this guy who's being held down.
Polo guys trying to get up.
Or in the blue.
We're
gets up and watch her in the yellow hat.
From here, it could de-escalate.
Everything's fine.
It looks like it's fine now.
It could save it from here.
Oh, yep. Now she slapped. Oh, now she punched.
She threw a punch.
And a kick.
Oh, and a kick.
Yeah.
Those are flats. She can really get some. Those. She's not in heels, which it would be absurd if you're wearing heels at the Derby.
So it was
You're
pretty wild.
walking
I
all day.
did not know this going in. That now, in lots of parts of Churchill Downs, that it's all food and drink is free. So, the second we walk in, there's people standing there with vendor trays.
Were you guys in like the Jockeys Club or?
It was. No, we were in the first
grandstand?
floor, not grandstand. We had a open air area that was
like
ours,
a box
thing.
Yeah.
And apparently everywhere that's not a GA grandstand or whatever, everything's included. So we walked in, and there's a man standing there with like beers, and then someone standing there with mint juleps and something else. And then I remembered someone saying something about that, and this guy had no big circle that said $9 or anything on it. Right?
Yeah, nothing.
So I said, "So these are free?" And the guy said, "Yeah." And so I had my first ever mint julep, and I gave him a tip.
You drank one and gave it to somebody else?
I drank the whole thing.
You drank the whole thing? You didn't just take one drink and then pour it out?
And then
I
kind of like a mint julep.
I moved to beer immediately after that for the whole rest of the day. And so the concession stands, they've just said, forget about trying to sit there and fight and swipe cards and do this cash. It's all free. Not free. It's all built into your.
Yes, you already paid for all of this in advance.
Bags fly
all
free.
inclusive.
Sure they do. But so like it was just like, okay, you hungry? Sure. Should you eat more food? No. Should you have another drink? Probably not. Whatever. We weren't driving. We were in a shuttle. It was all good.
It's all good.
And so that started the day off. And then, I didn't know a lot about betting or anything like that. I've gone to horse tracks before. Remington Park, the Woodlands, the places back in the day. But I did see Andy Sweeney, our good friend from Louisville, and Drew Diener, our buddy from Louisville. And Drew, they've got people on the air who talk about picks or whatever. So he gave me that guy's horses he liked. Okay. Yeah. So I did some exacta boxes throughout here and there. And, I won a little bit early. And then for the Derby, he had 4 horses he liked. So I did an exacta box with those. 2 of them came through.
That's right. 2
Bing,
fills
bang,
and
Two
Mage.
fills and Mage.
I usually text him beforehand. I did not that day. And I'm like, I'm just going to, figure it out on my own. I didn't have Mage and anything.
He liked 13814. That was the number that their
I like 14.
liked.
I liked 14. I did get it right that I said the favorite you should put it, if you're going to bet,
Somewhere
like
in there.
somewhere on the board, the favorite. And Angel of Empire was a favorite, finished third. Probably about 20 meters away from maybe winning, because it was.
if
if it goes a little bit longer, it wins. If that's the Belmont, then Angel of Empire probably wins. But my son won money.
There you go.
I did not. So.
So I won on that one, and so like
Your son won money, which he can now use on his kneecap reconstruction surgery.
I didn't even know what. I mean, I know what I'm betting, right? Well, I bet an Exacta-box. It was $24. I bet $2 Exacta-box. It was $24.
With 4 horses?
And yeah, with 4 horses, and 2 of them came through, and they were decent odds, right? They weren't like because earlier in the day I'd won an Exacta-box where I
won like
profited,
$10.
but it wasn't much, but because they were both favorites.
And there was probably 7 horses in that race.
It wasn't many, and so I'm sitting there, and now I'm in line to collect. I was going old school. I had the Twin Spires app, but I was going old school.
You got to
putting cash
win
on
in
the line.
Rome. Yeah, you got to turn that ticket in and have them.
And so then, like, my buddy Lance calls me when I'm in line, and he's like, "Dude, you're gonna win like $300 some." And I said, "Is it? I don't know." I just handed the ticket.
Would you win like $490?
No, it was $330.
$330?
So I looked at $30, and I'm like, "Yeah, pretty good day."
That's the
Pretty
thing,
good
though.
day.
If you hit an exact in the Derby, $330 might be the least amount you could win on that one,
Right, really.
Because there was there were fewer horses, and 2 of the higher. And I mean, there wasn't a rich strike like last year at 82-1 coming through. That exacta was like $3,000 if you got that exacta. It's like, which is
but
typically
the races right before that, I'd done like 3 horse exacta boxes, and like got 2 of the 3, but someone came out of nowhere
always
and messed it up. That's
that's what I was with Mage. I had a trifecta of 3, 14, 11. I did not have a superfecta of 8, 3, 14, 11. So having 3, 14, 11 finish first, second, and third doesn't matter if they finish second, third, and fourth.
In hindsight, done a trifecta box, and I really would have hit it big.
Exactly.
That
You got to go
would've
the
been nice.
I always throw like 20 different random trifecta straights that are 50 cent. Just start clicking them because you never know.
But
like
I videoed the end of the race and from where we're sitting, and I couldn't really see because I was just holding my phone up and I couldn't really tell who was winning. But I felt like I was in good shape because I knew I had a couple of horses. And then saw my video. I come around to the box. I'm like, how'd we do? Everyone's like, nothing. They were all on something else. And I was like, I don't know. And I went up there and I won $330.
I read through the horse like 10 minutes before post time. I read through the horses for my son. I'm like, all right, you tell me which one you like, and I'll put $2 in a win ticket for you. Okay. So I read all the horses off. He's like, Mage.
I
go, why? He goes,
You dumb kid.
I don't know. I don't know. So I ignored.
He'd heard about the workouts last week.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't put him in anything. I didn't put Mage in any exotics whatsoever. And I'm like, well, you should have listened to your son. He didn't know why he liked him. I asked him, why do you like this horse? He said, I don't know. Had he said the way he's training this week, turn a foot. I liked him in the Florida Derby. He got a tough trip. If a little bit of cleaner race, he might be higher bet. The way the trainers are, the lineage, I like the like. If he'd have said any of that stuff, but he's an idiot and he knows nothing about horse racing, and he just said Mage, and so he won money, and I did not. So
Randy Moss loved him. No, Dad, not the receiver.
Who did Dick Girardi pick
glad,
with Soren on Friday?
Because everyone said go, to the Oaks too, but we had our bourbon tour. Yeah. I think that would have been too much for me. A full day at the Oaks and a full day at the Derby would have been a lot.
It is a lot.
A lot for me.
Yeah, it's something that Soren was talking about it yesterday. I think Soren probably had the right take. It's something that you go and experience once. If you're there, like we would go every year.
Yeah,
we missed a couple years, but we would try to go to at least Oaks or Derby. We wouldn't go both, Oaks or Derby. But it is it's like a Friday in college on a date. It's like a lot of buildup. You get dressed up. You spend a lot of money. You go through the whole night in anticipation of one thing, and it's over in 2 minutes.
Bang. Just like that.
Just like that.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Now, unlike college, there were 2 more races after. But we didn't stay for those.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, let's get a little fact or fiction as we're hanging out with Todd Lebo. We head up until 2 o'clock. Todd Lebo with us. We'll get some fact or fiction. You know what we do is Josh will ask us a question, and we say if that's fact or fiction. Sometimes it's based on actual facts or things in real life. Sometimes it's just his opinion.
We've never actually gone back and checked on the ones we want to check.
I meant to.
That's always been
right.
right.
The draft.
No, they're always right.
I'll do that for next week. Let's start with Todd this week.
Yeah, I'd love to start with Lebo if that's cool. It's just been so long since we've played. I've just missed having him around.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Lebo, and maybe we go to Drake, and then you, Jason.
That sounds like a perfectly fine plan.
That works for me. You guys haven't looked at the lineup yet, right? The Royals lineup just came out during the break. I told you guys not to look at it because it's a new opening question for fact or fiction. Fact or fiction. In the Royals lineup today, Hunter Dozier is playing third base. Fact or fiction. We've talked a lot about Hunter Dozier today.
I know. I heard. I'm guessing it's fact. Unless you just tricked me.
Let me add another fact or fiction. Fact or fiction. While I was sitting in here, someone stole my headphones. That's a fact. So these were in the drawer.
So you had to go grab what?
Yeah,
do you know what the question was?
I'll say fact.
I'm going to say fiction.
It's a fact.
Dang it.
That's a fact.
Michael Massey out of the lineup today. Garcia playing second. So Witt, Pasquantino. Why did I say it that way? We'll never know.
Pasquantino.
Witt, Vinny, Salvi, Garcia, Melendez, Dozier, Fermin. Salvi's DHing, Fermin's catching, obviously.
Dazier.
Yeah, I should have gone fact because somebody's going to get a day off.
Jackie Bradley in center, and then Eaton is hitting ninth today.
Long stretch of games here.
Dozier and Eaton.
And
Jackie Bradley. Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm going to bet the under.
What's the under?
Well, Jordan Lyles is on the mound. Maybe I bet the over.
Well, right now, what's the Royals' money line? Let's go ahead and just fade that. What's actually going down is Jason Scorks. Right now, Drake and Lebo each have one.
That's true. Correct.
Fact or fiction, the Kentucky Derby is a top 5 in-person sporting event to attend. Drake will open with it. I made Drake. I knew the order this week because I put this one second and made sure it stayed second. Nice. So you and Lebo had to go after Drake.
I've never been. I've been to the Breeders' Cup at Churchill Downs, which was pretty fun.
That was awesome.
I will. Boy, this it's recency bias. I'll say fact.
I think it's a bucket list thing. Not you got to go every single year, but I'll say it's a top 5 where sports fans would say, you know what, I want to get to that at least once. I'll go fact.
Because I'm going to say fact. I put it in a different category than like Game 7 of the NBA playoff series. Because who do I care if it's the teams or whatever? You don't care about these horses. So it doesn't matter who you're watching. So I'm going to say fact.
I was going to decide if you guys were all unanimous. I'd probably let you decide it in a rare twist for fact or fiction. I guess that's a fact. I would have no way of knowing.
That's a fact. It's on PBS.
It is. I've been to a lot of cool things. Now listen, going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's great, but I think I would rather go to the Kentucky Derby than I went to the Super Bowl and worked when the Rams played the Titans.
Exactly,
it was a great game.
I'd rather go to the Derby than go to a Super Bowl my team wasn't playing.
Team agnostic, it would be very hard to predict that. So
yeah.
I thought you guys were going to say no.
I was at a Super Bowl with it came down to the last 1 foot of field.
Yeah,
and this was still more memorable for me probably.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to know what you guys thought about it. So everyone gets a free point. Welcome to Everybody Wins. Take that, Mick.
Yeah, let's go.
Fact or fiction to Jason. The Royals' offensive pop says more about their low-level opponents at this point than about the lineup itself.
Man, can I do both? You know what? I'm gonna say fiction, and I'll give you my reason after these two fellas go. I'm gonna say fiction.
It's more about their opponents than them.
Yeah,
that's fiction.
I also believe it's fiction. I think they're finding a little bit of a groove here.
It's fiction. You guys are right. And also, they didn't blow up some loser yesterday. I
was going to say Cease is pretty good, and they played the Orioles for 4 of those games that their offense has been going on. So, so we all get a point there.
Deceased and desist.
Yeah, you guys are 3 for 3, and I'm 2 for 3. So that's 8 for 9 if I'm doing quick math. Go ahead.
Let's get some more math involved. Lebo, so the numbers I'm going to give you here are not part of the game. This is not a rude trick.
I have my pen.
Last year, the Chiefs' rookie draft picks, they had 5 players who played at least 30% of the team's regular season snaps on either offense or defense. So that's Karlaftis, McDuffie, Watson, Williams. Cook was just below 30%. Pacheco was just barely above it. He was the 5th there in that group. And Sky was just a little bit below it. 5 last year hit that threshold. they will have less than 3 this season.
I think that's fact. There aren't as many holes to fill this year, and there's only 7 of them instead of 10 of them. So
that's true. That's a good point. I hadn't considered that. So Lebo says that is
and they've signed some offensive linemen.
There'll be less than 3.
Even after the draft.
So you're not going to give us a hook here. You're not going to give us 3.5. It's
No.
less than 3.
Less than 3.
I'll say fiction.
Special teams doesn't count.
Offense or defense? Good question.
I'm going to say fiction.
I think it's fiction.
Take that, Lebo.
God.
Drake pulls ahead.
This one we can check, see?
Yeah.
Make a note of this.
Yeah, you guys remember to check on this one in 12,
Question
10
4.
months.
Here, my 3 are Felix, Rice, and Coburn.
I think Felix and Coburn are like locks. I think that they might be locks to play 30% of the snaps, and then it depends on Rice and that receiver room and all of that. And I wouldn't have said Shamari Connor right now, just like I wouldn't have said Jalen Watson last year. But the Chiefs have a way of finding that 30%. I think is a pretty generous cushion.
Marking this tape.
Well, while we're on it, go ahead and hold on to this one. Go ahead and take your cassette, put it in the check after the season folder, because fact or fiction, Rashee Rice will be the Chiefs rookie who makes the biggest impact in 2023.
Is that me?
That's you.
Drake.
I think that's fiction.
Yeah, I'm going to go fiction.
Also a little subjective, but I think fiction.
Definitely a little subjective. That's never stopped me before. I think it's fiction.
Yeah, it's fiction. It better be Felix.
That's what I was thinking.
It should hopefully be Felix. And Tysher even talking earlier about, thinking that Rice is going to outperform Sky Moore in their respective rookie seasons, not necessarily this year. I'm with him on that, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a tough
he could outperform
learning
him
curve.
this year.
It is possible. It is possible. I really do think Coburn could play a lot. Hopefully it's Felix, though.
I think Coburn will play a pretty decent amount. I'm not 2 things. One, I think Coburn's pretty good, and I'm not really high on Nadi. He took a huge step back last year.
And they're just a rotation of dudes, so he's high up on the depth chart. All right, fact or fiction? I haven't fully broken down and considered packing my bags and moving away and living my life on the run to avoid my upcoming wedding. But last night I was tested by this particular part of the wedding planning process, the boutonniere. Once again, I'll tell you, the end part is the fact or fiction.
The boutonniere
Something last night
challenged
in the
you.
wedding process challenged me, emotionally, spiritually.
I am going to say fiction. I think something else.
I'll go ahead and say fact. The boutonniere can be tricky.
Mm-hmm. But is it emotional and physical and
Can
spiritual?
be. We're getting close to the nuptials.
I think it's fiction. I think it was something more like cake tasting or something.
Or like
The boutonnieres are going to be in every picture. It's a fact.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
I finally, after all this time, Renee was like, here's the ones we went through the other time. We went through, we saved a bunch on Etsy, and we got to pick one. Like, all right, fine, I'm going to go ahead and pick one. I settled on the one that, you know what, I like that. It's going to be a little weird, a little eclectic. I think that'll look good on my lapel. It's shipping from New Zealand. It's not going to be here in time. Neither were any of the ones that I was picking for the rest of the groomsmen. So today I have an Amazon cart with boutonnieres in it that would get here within 2 days. We're going to make that decision tonight, assuming that I don't break down before then.
We went through this with Kentucky Derby clothes.
Oh,
when you're
yeah.
buying online, don't click it unless it says Prime.
You
It
gotta
can be
see-
in a couple of
Gotta
days.
check that shipping.
You got to see where it's coming from. I'm going to tell you this. Also, same thing about what I learned at the Derby.
Yeah.
You can fuss about all this stuff. The one thing they're not looking at in all those wedding pictures is your boutonniere.
But I'm going to be looking at my boutonniere, and that's a me problem. This isn't a Renee problem or anyone else problem. It's a
Let me
me
tell you
problem.
something. We blended in real well at the Derby. No one was going,
There
oh,
you
look
go.
at them. It was a lot of
all
ado
good.
about nothing.
But
It's all good.
you're looking to blend in that situation.
Did you have a top hat?
I'm trying to wear
I
a
just wore a
white
little,
dress.
I could look like I
Little-
could have been a
little
jockey. You know, I
bucket
got
hat?
my
Yeah,
little
little
guys,
Kangol, yeah.
my little baby boy, with newsboy hats or
yeah,
whatever.
I don't think
you go.
I've seen pictures of the fit still. I never got the pictures over the
Oh, those
weekend.
are
I
on
need to.
Facebook, my
pictures,
wife's
yeah.
account.
All right, I'll
Check
go add
those
your wife
out.
on Facebook.
Yeah, my wife thought you looked like a chimney sweep.
I could have been a chimney sweep.
Yeah.
I could
Some
have
of that
been.
is. There's plenty of chimney sweep look. You got the bow ties. You got the.
Well, I really was going to buy this other hat,
Suspenders?
but the hat had that same issue on Amazon.
That's too bad.
So I went over here to Kohl's and I bought my little
Could
hat.
have borrowed my fedora.
I should have.
I would love to see you just rocking a nice little trilby.
Everyone had all the
fancy. I
hats.
think that'd be nice. We got to all wear
Where
hats.
are we now?
We're on number 7 because fact or fiction, Donovan Smith will start at left tackle for the Chiefs in Week 1.
Did I go first on that? No,
That
you
was
went first. Jason's up
That was
first.
me.
That
I
was
first.
Jason first. Yep.
So now
It's me.
Leibs goes first.
Donovan-
I got Drake and
Donovan
Lebo
Smith
tied
is
at
starting-
5.
Yep, me before.
And Jason at 4? Okay, yeah.
Donovan Smith, left tackle.
He will start at left tackle for the Chiefs in Week 1.
Andy said so. Fact.
He's never lied in a press conference before.
No.
I also believe it's fact.
I'll go fact.
I think it's a fact.
That's a fact.
I won't say it's completely 100% locked in my mind, but I think he's got to be the favorite, which is interesting because as Teicher and Jason were talking about earlier, they both thought Donovan Smith was well into his 30s. I, however, knew he was a spry 29 throughout the offseason.
29.6?
29. And could he have turned 30 before the... I wasn't sure about all that, but I knew he was in his late 20s.
I would have lost money if somebody said, hey, how old is Donovan Smith? Before they signed him. So, last Tuesday.
33.
How old is Donovan Smith? 33. That's what I would have guessed. 33.
But the fact or fiction is...
like a 33-year-old.
I knew he was a spry 29, maybe 28.
That's the fact or fiction?
That's the fact or fiction.
Oh, okay. So Drake's leading off.
No, I think you thought he was older.
Yeah, I'm going to say whatever that you thought he was older, if that's a fact or fiction.
Fiction
whatever
on
side
that.
is.
Same with him.
I would have said 34. I mean,
Yes.
I was floored.
Yeah.
I would have said 31 or 32, I think, probably. But yeah, like you guys were talking about, I was pretty sure he was back there in the creamsicles.
Is 29.
Yeah.
You think Frank Clark's like 33.
Hasn't Donovan Smith been the left tackle for the Bucs since Kennedy?
Yeah.
Lebo, the fit looks great. I found your wife's Facebook here. I've sent her a friend request. If she adds me or not, it's up to her, but I've seen what I needed to see. Love the suit.
I hope she doesn't.
Like the tie. Would be very funny if she just refused to add me on Facebook.
I'll tell her to add you.
No.
Fact or fiction? I like this question from Teicher, so I stole this one from him too. The Chiefs are better at the tackle positions right now this year than they were at this time last year. No weird additions or anything. I'm not trying to play a game. Start a training camp, basically.
Right. Okay. Then I will go... Is it just the
You're saying Donovan Smith and
tackle position?
Johnson.
Just the tackle position. Does it mean too deep? Does it mean
I'm going to say tackle position for 2023. I'm not going to give you any extra credit for Wanya being a rookie. I won't ding you for Smith on a 1-year deal.
Yeah. I am going to go with fiction. Fact. I'm going fact.
Ooh.
I'm going to say possibly.
Yeah, that's definitely.
But
this was fact or
I'm
fiction
say
or possibly.
fact. I mean, listen.
Leaning more towards fact.
We can't be tainted by how it went last year. At
Speaking
this
of
moment last year, I think there was some trepidation. The right tackle especially. But
On paper, fact.
I am leaning factual.
That is a fact. Maybe a fact.
Is it possibly?
That's what I'm leaning, just because, last year at this time, they had all 5 starting offensive linemen returning from the year before.
Yeah.
Wiley ended playing right tackle. Orlando Brown was going into a second year. Humphrey and Trey Smith were going into their second year. Like, you felt like, okay, they've got 5 that you feel good about. But after that, oh, goodness, I hope nobody gets hurt. This year, it's like they got a 2 deep. Do I feel good about Donovan Smith at left tackle? Depending. Do I feel good about Jawan Taylor at right tackle? More than Wiley. But after that, I don't know. We'll see.
I don't have a ton of confidence.
It's factual.
But I think it is narrowly factual. Hopefully, possibly, maybe factual. Fact or fiction? The Lakers now up 3-1 and currently the odds-on favorites to do this thing. The Lakers are going to win the dang Western Conference.
Am I up first?
I believe.
Who's up first?
We're on. This is question number 11. I've lost track. Nope. Question 10. Sorry. Question 10.
Fiction.
Lebo says fiction.
Fiction.
It's fiction. Get him out of here.
Suns.
Well, I got a Suns question for you.
It's the Nuggets. It's the Nugs.
Question 11.
Might be the Warriors.
To Drake, really, if LeBron blows a 3-1 lead to the Warriors, can you imagine? Fact or fiction? No basketball player has individually, as one individual person, made me more frustrated than DeAndre Ayton. Fact or fiction, Drake?
This isn't like somebody you knew in high school that was a basketball player that stole a girl you liked or something.
That never happened to me, Drake.
Okay.
I didn't talk to girls.
I'll say fact.
I am going to say fact.
I know you really have been frustrated by him, and I got to say fact because I'm winning, so I'm facting this one.
It's a fact, man.
It's a fact.
He plays like a 7-footer who every once in a while has the under on his rebound totals. It's crazy. The number of times that he will stand around the basket and just wave his arms around. Fact or fiction number 12, Suns in 6.
The fiction.
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 I'll say fact.
It's fiction.
Yes.
Oh boy.
That means Drake and Jason are tied right now with 10 points apiece. Lebo has 11, which means we need a tiebreaker. Guys, I've given you the power.
It's weird that we need the tiebreaker
weird
when
that-
somebody has more points than the others.
We
That's
have
what
to
it
fill
means.
the last segment of the show.
All right, so what's the tiebreaker question?
I've given you all the power. We did a little version of this game last week. I've given you all the power here to name a racehorse. I want to know your best racehorse name. Doesn't have to be any sort of specific reference. No.
Okay.
You are naming a racehorse, and you are
Gotcha.
trying to give this horse a fighting chance out there on the circuit. What do you name your racehorse?
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter,
888-770 or summithckc.com.
All right, so it is the tiebreaker question.
It's really between you two guys. I've already won, but I do have a great answer.
Drake and I have 10, and Tolabo has 11.
And your
This goes to 11.
very
His
required tiebreaker
points go to 11.
is that I have given you the power to name a racehorse. Want you to name a horse. I want to see where your head goes.
What was the fourth question of our Fact or Fiction there?
The
that's
fourth one overall?
Fourth one, because that's the only one Todd missed. He went 11 for 12.
About the Chiefs rookies. You guys made up some ground on them there.
Yeah,
we're
so,
going to check that one,
Yeah,
too.
he might go 12 for 12 if that comes back. All right, horse racing name that you would name your horse.
Yeah. Do you want mine? I don't want to tell you. I don't want you to.
No,
to
no,
I
I
don't
got
think
the winner, but you guys just
okay.
go ahead.
All right.
hurry.
Well then, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Drake.
Boutonniere.
Dog it.
Really good one. Was
That's
that
mine.
yours?
Briscoe's Boutonniere.
Is that what it was?
Briscoe's Boutonniere.
Wow.
With an E.
Mine is Bo-Fad-Ease.
Bofadis?
Bofadis.
Bofadis.
That's pretty good.
Bofadis.
That's pretty good. I went with no E because to the point
Oh,
that
the Briscoe,
Drake threw a
no
little.
E.
Yeah,
Nice.
short for Briscoe with no E.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like since Lebo and Drake were tied and
No, I was
had the
already winning.
same answer, or since Lebo was winning and you guys had to tie the tiebreaker.
I won.
I think I deserve both of these points.
I like that one.
Both of these what?
Bofadis.
Both of these.
But if I
It's
don't
not
win,
both of these, though. It's Bofadis.
But if I don't win, I have to do this another week.
You have to do this another week regardless.
All right, well, we got to keep Drake around. So Lebo's
Yes.
the winner. Jason
Damn it.
gets second.
All right.
Drake gets the bronze. And weirdly, I had a bet on that. So crazy how that worked out.
I spelled Briscoe right, but Boutonniere wrong, I'm sure. So.
I have not learned how to spell boutonniere at any point in my mental
I
breakdown.
had an Exacta box with me and Drake. And Lebo came in first and ruined the whole thing. I'm tired of that. Lebo was the long shot. Just came off the board. Rich strike. Nice job. Unfortunately, this year, Corey's uncle did not own a horse. Mage was not owned by Corey.
Too bad.
This poor guy. Thank you, Todd.
Yep.
All right. Program. It's up next here on Sports Radio.